Ladies and gentlemen, welcome today to NASCAR Thunder 2004 right here on KRC for the Georgia 500. Just 4 races to go on the season for NASCAR Thunder 2004. It's been about a week and a half since we have last been here, but we are back to round out the end of the season over these next couple of weeks. Again, as mentioned, just 4 races to go. This is the final 500-mile race that you will see of a full race live stream right here on NASCAR Thunder 2004. Thanks for everybody tuning in here this evening, a Monday evening, nonetheless, the day after the Daytona 500. Hopefully, you were able to make it through the race last night and enjoy the race, even though a lot of people were complaining about train racing, but when you have a wreck in the first 15 laps, what can you expect about the race? You can go check out my post-race analysis video for more in-depth analysis of it, but I'll be more than willing to answer questions throughout the course of the stream as well. Ashton G, Tyler Burbeck, welcome to the stream. Also, if you haven't already, you could still, it's never late, but you can still join the Fantasy Live League. Go to KRC League on the fantasy portion of the mobile app or website for NASCAR. Again, search KRC League, join if you haven't signed up already for a fantasy roster or a fantasy application, I guess would be the right way to say it, but you can sign up with your email on there. Again, it's very simple. It is free. Chance for a weekly prize. We already crowned our first winner yesterday for our league that currently has 9 people in it, but it's never late to join. You can join at any point throughout the course of the season. Tristan Games, welcome to the stream. Yep, I lost. Yeah, I'm with you there, too. A lot of my guys got taken out in the very first big one, so it was pretty much downhill from there. But, yeah, I just got a comment there from Cap24 posting a video while streaming talent. Yeah, that was in the process of uploading for the last couple hours and just finally uploaded right as I was starting the stream. But yeah, you can check that out at the end. Race of the week from not last week, but 2 weeks ago. Sorry I was late on that. We had a lot of stuff to upload during Speed Weeks last week. I mean, you guys saw we had altogether 4 predictions videos between the start of the season, then the Clash, the dual races, and the Daytona 500. And then we had 3 post-race analysis videos for the Clash, the Daytona 500, and the duels. So it was a busy week on the channel last week. We'll continue streaming every day as we are here tonight. And we wrapped up our Daytona 500 on NASCAR 05. We'll continue NASCAR 05 later into the weekend, but first we're going to get a couple races closer to the end of the season here. We come into this one with the points lead for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got a 97-point lead over Mark Martin. The top 4 in points still within 1 race of each other, so we'll follow that again over these final 4 races. That is pretty much going to wrap it up for the intro. We'll go into the starting lineup and key points from the MRN guys going into today's race at Atlanta.
We're live from the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia for today's running of the Georgia 500. I think we're in for some incredible racing, judging by this track's history.
The high speeds that can be reached here does make for some exciting racing. There are no restrictor plates to keep them from being able to pass either. It's just all-out, good old stock car racing with the best drivers in the business. I can't wait to get this one underway.
Terry Labonte has strung together back-to-back top 5s, and I'm sure he'll try for another one.
He can sure gain a lot of points if he continues his top 5 streak. It just goes to show it doesn't always take wins to move up in the points.
Matt Kenseth has been working hard in qualifying all season, and it really shows.
Yes, but don't forget, it takes a lot of people working together to get that car starting in the top 10.
Sterling Dixon, welcome to the stream as well. Who predicted Michael McDowell to win the Daytona 500? I don't think anybody did. Maybe the few Michael McDowell fans out there, perhaps. I don't know. It's tough to say. Black Ace, welcome to the stream as well. Well, who do you want to win the championship this year? Well, I want Ryan Blaney to win the championship. Or are you talking about this? If you're talking about real life, I want Blaney, obviously, because he's my favorite driver. But my prediction is Chase Elliott to win the title this year. Already off to a good start. Nearly won the Busch Clash. And finished second in the Daytona 500. Engines are fired as all 43 cars roll out onto the racetrack at the Atlanta Motor Speedway again for the Georgia 500 today, the final 500-mile race on our NASCAR Thunder 2004 playthrough. The points leader, Dale Jr., will be starting on the pole for today's race. Jeff Gordon outside pole. He's still in the championship running as well. Ryan Newman and Bobby Labonte in row number 2. Bobby Labonte starting to slide back in the points the last couple races, but he's still got a shot also. Kurt Busch and Dale Jarrett in row 3. Jarrett, one of those 4 drivers within 1 race worth of points, and a very, very nice looking UPS scheme today. Jeremy Mayfield and Herbie Sadler in row 4. Mayfield, if you remember a week and a half ago, won our last race at Martinsville. In row number 5, it'll be Mark Martin and Bill Elliott. So both the Ray Evernham Dodges starting inside the top 10. Good qualifying effort for them. Martin comes into this race second in points as mentioned, 97 back from Dale Jr. Terry Labonte and Matt Kenseth will be in row 6. Labonte, the most winningest driver this year, sliding back in the last couple races. He's now sitting 10th in points, but not out of it mathematically. Ward Burton and Sterling Marlin are in row 7. In row number 8, it'll be Kevin Harvick and Rusty Wallace. Kevin Harvick, our Season 1 Daytona 500 winner. In row number 9, it'll be Jeff Burton and Michael Waltrip. Waltrip came close to winning at Talladega a couple races ago, ran out of field coming to the checker. In row number 10, it'll be Ricky Rudd and Jamie McMurray. McMurray leading the Rookie of the Year standings coming into today's race. In row number 11, it'll be Kenny Wallace and Christian Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi second in that Rookie of the Year standings race behind McMurray. He is about a race and a half worth of points back. Going to need a big day over Jamie Mack today. Steve Park and Robbie Gordon in row number 12. And row number 13, it'll be Casey Mears, the rookie, also trying to chase McMurray in the Rookie of the Year standings, and Kevin LePage to his outside. Greg Biffle in our Season 2 winner of the Daytona 500, Ricky Craven in row 14. And row 15, it'll be Jeff Green and rookie Jack Sprague. Brett Bodine and Tony Stewart will be in row 16. Jerry Nadeau and Kyle Petty in row 17. Mike Skinner and Joe Nemechek will be in row number 18. I'll answer the questions when I get through the starting lineup here. We're almost done. Ashton Lewis and Stanton Baird, a couple part-time rookie drivers in row 19. In row number 20, it'll be Johnny Benson and Kenny Schrader. Jimmy Johnson, Elliott Sadler back in row 21. Johnson starting all the way back in the field versus a few, or at least Gordon and Labonte, some of his Hendrick teammates starting in the top half of the field. We'll see if he'll have that kind of speed as the race continues. And David Green will round out the field starting 43rd for today's race. Who are your sleepers except for the winner from yesterday? Yeah, I didn't pick McDowell as a sleeper. My sleeper picks were William Byron, who got crashed out because he started at the rear, but he seemed fast. Almirola was actually my pick to win the race. He got crashed out in that same wreck. And my other sleeper pick, I got to remember who it was. I had 3 of them. Man, I can't remember. I did that predictions video like really early yesterday morning because we had to stream the duels and the 500. Man, who did it? I'm trying to like remember what I had in my notes and what I had in the video. I had 3 of them. It was Almirola, Byron. Who was the other guy? I had as like a... I'm drawing a... Oh, Bubba Wallace, but yeah, he just looked kind of fast. Yeah, he just looked fast. The guys that... I thought Ryan Preece really impressed me yesterday. Well, really all Speed Weeks Ryan Preece impressed. I'll get to that in a couple moments. Green flag in the air at Atlanta. We're underway. Here today, the 4th, the last race of the season. Terry Labonte not taking off on the initial start as they were already 3 wide into turn 1. He did make a setup change from qualifying to happy hour, which put him to the top of the charts in happy hour despite qualifying 11th. Look at him sending it into turn 3 to get around Kevin Harvick. Ward Burton trying to follow up to the inside as well. Terry a little loose off turn 4. He's not used to running the outside. 3 wide up the middle now into turn number 1 and 2. Slides the tires and slides into the wall. contact with Hermie Sadler now.
Number 31, down low. Okay, we're clear.
Still trying to get used to this. That's the problem with going to NASCAR 05 and then come back to 04 is because these two games drive completely different from each other. Though I haven't raced at Atlanta on NASCAR 05 yet since repurchasing the game after not playing it in a while, but obviously an ugly start for Terry Labonte early on today. Kind of overdriving the corners a little bit. 500-mile race, though. One of the longer ones. Labonte has not done well in the mile and a half this year. Only one win on a mile and a half, and that was at Kansas 4 races ago. But this car looks very fast down the straightaways. If he can just reel it into the corners and save those tires on these long green flag runs throughout today's race. If we get long green flag runs, that is. He should be one to beat by the race end. He's 390 points back, 10th in the point standings coming into today's race. And Dale Jr. already leading a couple laps after starting on the pole. It's going to be tough to dethrone Dale Jr. for the championship, but you never know what could happen in these final 4 races. Really, those last 2 races, especially that DNF at Martinsville, definitely hurting the chances of Terry Labonte from winning this title. Rusty Wallace trying to cross him over to the inside. But yeah, Ryan Preece I thought was the most impressive driver all speed weeks. I know Michael McDowell won the 500, but all speed weeks, Preece was the most impressive driver. He had to qualify his way in on time, and he did that. And he raced his way in on Thursday by finishing 5th in his dual race. He scored stage points in both stages in yesterday's race and came away with a 6th place finish. He was up in the top 10 pretty much all day. A quiet but solid day for Ryan Preece, and just an overall great speed weeks. I mean, he was pretty much in the top 10 all day in the dual race. Qualified in the top 10 on Wednesday night and ran in the top 10 all day yesterday in the 500. I mean, that was an absolutely amazing. And he missed that first wreck on lap 16, kind of the way he did back in, 2019, his rookie season, when he threaded the middle around spinning cars, just exactly like he did in Speed Weeks in 2019. Ryan Preece is shown to be a pretty good racer at Daytona, especially for the 500. Boy, he put that on full display this week. They were talking about that team not even running the full season. They're not sure if they can make it the full season, but boy, that's why I was kind of pulling for him to win the 500 late there, because if they would have won the 500, I guarantee they'd be running the full year. Minimal contact in turns 1 and 2 that time between Waltrip and Labonte as Labonte overdrives the corner just a little bit again. This car's a little bit looser than what it was in qualifying because he did loosen it up. If it gets too loose on the long run, he's going to have to try to tighten it back up. He wasn't slow in practice. He was 4th in first practice, and again, qualified 11th. He kind of had a little bit of a mistake on lap 2 that his first lap was the faster of the 2 laps, and that's why he qualified 11th. But top of the charts in happy hour for Labonte. If he can just reel this car in, I'm sure it'll be pretty fine for today's race. That, and again, running 05 pretty much all week last week. Going to cause for maybe a little bit of a struggle for these opening 50 laps or so for Terry Labonte today. Austin Dillon racked up. Yeah, Austin Dillon had really good speed weeks too. He scored a lot of points. Of course, he scored 10 points with winning his dual race as well. So that's going to help, especially if he's going to be one of those bubble drivers at the end of the year. See, the thing is, with Michael McDowell winning, obviously he's got to stay in the top 30 in points still, but he should be able to do that. He's done that the last couple of years, and pretty much those front row cars are right around 30th in points. Typically, they overachieved last season compared to what they were. And there's a lot of road courses on the schedule this year, so Michael McDowell, he's got a good chance for a career season. He's already won the Daytona 500. I can see Michael McDowell finishing with like 5 or 6 top 10s by the end of the year with all the road courses on the season as well. And then obviously still got 3 more super speedways. So, yeah, look out for Michael McDowell to have like one of those seasons where he might be right around 16th in points even without this win. Obviously the win's going to help, and he's going to make the playoffs anyway now. And that's going to take a spot away from some of these other guys. I mentioned in my preseason predictions episode that before the start of the season that it was tight because I had 3 or 4 drivers, that were in pretty good equipment, like a Hendrick, like I had Byron missing the playoffs. I had a couple of, upset guys missing the playoffs because I thought Stenhouse would win a super speedway, so don't count him out like if he wins Talladega or something. We saw the JTG cars fast this weekend. Who's to say that Priest or Stenhouse don't win at Talladega this year, and really flip the playoffs up on its side. So, it is not a solid lock for guys that are, I predicted to be right around the bubble, like Bubba Wallace, William Byron, Eric Almirola I predicted right around the bubble, and obviously not a good 500 for Almirola. He did get 10 points for winning his dual race as well on Thursday, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting as this season thickens going into Daytona the second time to end the regular season on whether or not, who's going to get in on points, who's going to need a win. Because there's going to be some top-level drivers and top-level equipment that are not going to make the playoffs this year. I had Briscoe making the playoffs, too, because I think he can win a race. So, I mean, that'll flip it up on its side, too, if he can get a win in his rookie season. I had Tyler Reddick, making it in because I thought the Chevys would be a little bit faster this year. I mean, there's just not enough room for a lot of these guys to make it. Might need to win. You definitely see Austin Dillon winning Richmond this year. The only thing with that is he has never been good at Richmond in his career until last season in the playoffs. So I'm not completely sold on that. You know what I mean? Like, I need to see him run there consistently and not just one race before I, hop on the Dillon bandwagon with the road courses and short tracks. That's going to be the downfall for Austin Dillon is the short tracks this season if he's going to point his way in. But he's won his way in all 3 years he did make the playoffs. So, it's obviously possible that he could do that again. He almost won the 500 yesterday. A couple hundred feet, it would have been a photo finish between McDowell, Elliott, and, well, more than a couple hundred feet. About a half a mile away from Elliott, Austin Dillon, and McDowell making it a 3-wide finish at the line. Terry Labonte running in the top 10 right now, lap 18 in this race, and I'm sure Dale Jr. is still out in the lead and leading laps early on. Yeah, it'll just be fun to see how this thickens. Like I mentioned in my post-race analysis video, the Daytona 500 was a little underwhelming, I think, compared to how much hype there was going into it, how good of a speed weeks it really was up until the Xfinity race. Tough break. One of the Hendrick Chevrolets have already blown an engine here. Joe Nemechek was on the apron of the track, nursing it to pit road. And Joe Nemechek's afternoon will come to an end. That could be fearful for Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte, who are still in the championship hunt. Look at this run Terry Labonte's got to the inside of Ryan Newman into turn 3. Pushing up the track a little bit. Did a good job keeping it off Newman. Newman trying to hold the outside. Newman takes a swing at Labonte. Didn't think he was mad enough to do that. He waited until the exit of the corner. I don't think Labonte was expecting that. My goodness. Well, Nashville isn't a super speedway, though. It's an intermediate racetrack. It's slightly bigger than a short track. It's like 1.33 miles or 1.25 miles in length. So it's not like a technical short track, but it'll probably race like one, especially with the 750 package that they're running this year, which is the short track package. Could you imagine if, like, Anthony Alfredo somehow wins on a super speedway later this year and you got both the front row cars in? And Alfredo's a rookie, so he wins, like, the rookie of the year. That'd be, like, the best season of all time for Front Row Motorsports. But you got to think too. The most money of any of the purses in NASCAR is in the Daytona 500. That's over $1 million going to that program, and to Michael McDowell, obviously, but to that program, that's only going to better Front Row Motorsports when the next gen car comes out, if you think about it, because that's going to be $1 million in their pocket that they could spend for their equipment. Over $1 million more that they can help spend on technology and equipment for when the next gen car comes out to stay competitive next year or get even more competitive when everything seems to be more even with the playing field until the couple years down the line when the bigger teams that have the technology will be able to gain knowledge quicker. But look for that coming out like say next season or the next couple years with Front Row Motorsports too. They've been around for a while. Yes, they've won a couple races here and there as one-offs, like David Reagan and Chris Buescher having to win in that 34 car before, but it's a little different when it's the Daytona 500. And that purse is... I know it used to be like $1.4 million. I don't know what the purse is now because NASCAR hasn't shown that since, I think, 2015. What the purses are per race and, driver payouts and stuff. So I don't know what it is anymore, but if it's, more than that or just as much as it was, I mean, that's a lot of money going to that program at Front Row Motorsports. They've already been trying to save money running as a 2-car operation instead of 3 the last couple seasons too. So, they were already saving money before. And now they're piling on money on top of it. We'll scrape off the wall off turn 4 for Terry Labonte that last lap as Sterling Marlin's trying to hang with him. Labonte's charging forward. He fell back to 20th on the opening couple laps of the race, and he's quickly up to 5th. So a solid run early, but man, Dale Jr. leading the first 25 laps of the race already with the points lead. It's pretty much his championship to lose. It looked like he was going to let it slip away. He lost the points lead a couple races ago after a 23rd place finish at Talladega and a blown engine at Kansas. And then the next race, he had 3 of the top 4 in points blown engine. The only guy that didn't have the top 4 was Dale Jr. So when he lost all those points, he just gained it right back. Not only that, but he won at Charlotte in that said race. And then he comes back with a top 10 finish at Martinsville, finished 6th as well. So, I mean, Junior's just regaining that momentum. That's why he's got that 97-point lead or near 100-point lead, just like he had 3 races ago before he blew that engine at Kansas. It's amazing how things just cycle through like that. Battle for 4th between the Hendrick teammates of Jeff Gordon and Terry Labonte early on. Labonte going to look low underneath Gordon. Not going to spin out on the apron on this game, luckily. Labonte definitely undercut that corner on exit. Sends it into turns 3 and 4 to clear Gordon. But all the way up the track goes Labonte. He overdrove it. Textbook definition of a slide job there. It just didn't work out for Labonte's favor, and Gordon was able to cross him over. To the back bumper. Labonte on his teammate Gordon. They're racing hard, but they're racing clean. Labonte again gets under him off turn 2. A little side draft down the back straightaway. Trying to pull that 24 car back as much as he can. Sends it off into 3 and 4 again. Clear. And again, kind of overdrives it a little bit. And Gordon completes the crossover. Good battle going on, but this is allowing Bobby Labonte to stick with these two. Can imagine RCR. Oh boy. Hang on, I'll read that comment once this battle ends up. This is the 3rd time Labonte's going to try to pass Gordon in turns 3 and 4. That time he didn't slide up as much. Actually, Gordon got a little tight in the center of the corner. That time once Labonte got in front of him, and Bobby's about to get underneath Jeff Gordon. And Terry Labonte just under 4 seconds off the lead. Is up to the 4th place position behind Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch in 2nd, and Dale Jr. again, still the race leader, dealing with his first lap cars of the day. Bobby Labonte to the inside of Gordon now off of turn 2 and into turn 3. We had a pretty good show yesterday in our Daytona 500, by the way. Did I get the new controller? No. We are under major snowstorm here. So we had about 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground from last week, like Tuesday through Wednesday, and it's been bitterly cold pretty much for the last 2 weeks, so there's been no chance for that snow to melt. Then today, I don't know what the temperatures were exactly, but between early this morning into tonight, we're supposed to get 10 to 14 inches of snow from the time it started this morning. So, yeah, I'm pretty much getting snowed in. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it into work tomorrow. So, I'm definitely going to have to get up early just in case. But if we have like levels in Ohio, so like if it's a level 3, they advise you not to be on the road. So, I don't have to go into work. That's the case. Especially because I already have about a 35-minute drive as it is. I mean, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get to work and this stuff as it is tomorrow. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration. It might be a little over an hour 15 minutes, but it's going to be a long drive, sketchy drive, so you're looking forward to that. Unless I don't have to go. I'm praying that we have a level 3 so I don't have to go. It's almost kind of like when I was younger and we had those snow days at school. That's what it kind of feels like, because we haven't had a level 3 in a really long time. We've had more snow this year already, I think, than what we've had in the last 2 years combined, and it's probably been since I was in high school about 3-4 years ago since we've had this much snow in one winter. And it's still middle of February. Like, we're still probably going to be getting snow off and on for about another month and a half yet. Usually, like, middle to end of March is usually when it stops snowing and starts to, like, break 50 degrees. Inconsistently, at least, but you get those days where it's, like, 60, and then the next day it's, like, 40. And that's where the weather in Ohio gets bipolar. Kind of like it does in the fall. It does the same thing. Like, you'll be in, like, late October, and it could be 70 degrees, and then the next day it'll be 40, and then the next day after that it'll be, like, 50, and then it'll be like 65, then back to 40. Yeah, ask away, Ashton. So anyway, yeah, with all the snow, I did not get my new controller today. And honestly, with the snow continuing all the way into tomorrow morning, I might not get the controller tomorrow. But for whatever reason, though, we're having a pretty good run. Now, this is the easiest track on Thunder 04 to drive outside of Daytona and Talladega. So that could be another reason why I'm not doing that bad. I guess it's the best track to probably run with a pretty crappy controller. So we should get through this one. Though we struggled on 05, but I think part of that was it being a new game on top of the fact that new game for me playing in a while on top of the controller issues. But at least we're accustomed with this. We've been doing this playthrough since August. Bonnie slowly catching Kenseth. He's only about 6 to 7 car lengths behind him into turn 1. And Kurt Busch maybe another 6-7 car lengths ahead of Kenseth. And Kurt Busch putting the pressure on Dale Jr. right now for the race lead. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. May want to trade my Ford Mustang in. Good 4-wheel drive. I've been driving this car for a while. It doesn't bother me. It's not something I can't handle. It's not the best car for like rain or snow. It's by far not the best car, but it's something that I can handle. You know, it's not like it makes it overly sketchy. Like it's in my control. I think me racing on dirt from the age of 8 to 19 kind of helps reel it in. I'm not like Kyle Larson in every single corner, but I'm just saying, you know, when I can feel the rear tire sliding, it honestly doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. Somebody else is in the car with me, it feels uncomfortable for them, but I'm like, it just happens, you know, you just kind of just drive out of it. But yeah, I take it slow, you know, take it easy, but I haven't had a problem with it. I've had this car since I was 17, so yeah, this is my 5th winter with this car. This is definitely the worst winter I've had with this car, but I haven't had an issue driving in the snow. Never spun out because of it or anything like that, so yeah, I trust my driving. Never been in a ditch or... I'm pretty good. I trust myself driving. I trust myself way more than I trust other people, even if I've been in the car with that person before. It just, having the wheel in my hands, I just feel comfortable no matter what. So Kurt Busch not mad enough to take a swing at Labonte. Labonte just got around Kenseth that last lap off turn 4. Junior's got about a half a second lead. Oh boy, Kurt Busch with a very, very risky block into turn 1 on Terry Labonte. Labonte going to try to cross him over. Kurt slides high off a 2. Labonte to the inside, a little bit of an undercut. Labonte drives it in deep into turn 3. Boy, he slid it in there. How did they not make contact with one another? Kurt gave him all the room in the world, and it's a good thing he did, because otherwise they would have been wrecked in turns 3 and 4. I mean, Labonte was sideways. There was smoke rolling out of the rear tires. They're still side by side in turns 1 and 2. Kurt's not letting him go. And finally, Labonte clears him off turn 2, but that was a close call in a battle for second. It allows Junior to pull away a couple car lengths. A few more lap cars, though, right in front of Dale Jr. And honestly, Labonte's car is on the loose side, but loose is fast if he can hang on to it, and he's hanging on to it perfectly fine in the early going of today's race at Atlanta. Hasn't led a lap yet, though. Trying to run down Junior. Wants to lead the most laps if he can help it. Junior's already got 5 bonus points, but man, Junior has led every lap from the start of this race from the pole. He is going to be mightily tough to beat today, and obviously he just won the last mile and a half at Lowe's Motor Speedway 2 races ago at Charlotte. You can remember that from a couple weeks ago, but Dale Jr. has just been on a tear this season. That's why he's got a 97-point lead over Mark Martin. And Martin's been nowhere to be found even in the top 10 in the early going of today's race. Labonte was charging for 20th. Last we saw of him, at least, he was outside the top 10. But he's got a couple teammates of Kurt Busch and Kenseth there. Wow, Ashton Lewis held up Dale Jr. quite a bit into turn 3. Jr. gave up just a tad bit of the bottom. Not much, but just enough for Labonte to get under him. At the start-finish line, Jr. leads the lap still. So he's led the first 45 laps now. But Terry Labonte hard into turns 1 and 2. A little bit of a slide job and clears Dale Jr. Jr. trying to cross over Labonte with the block on the inside off a 2. And Terry Labonte about to receive himself 5 bonus points for leading his first lap, assuming he makes it back to the start-finish line with the lead. Now he kind of drifts high. Jr. gets a run on the bottom, but not enough of one to get back alongside Labonte. So Terry Labonte in the lead for the first time today at Atlanta. And what is, again, going to be a longer race, but it's the last 500-mile race of the NASCAR Thunder 2004 playthrough, so no big issue there. Main reason Austin Dillon's first in the points. Well, that big wreck helped, and he scored stage points yesterday, and obviously that third place finish helped too. But again, that dual race for Austin Dillon scoring in 10 points helped. Because remember, Denny Hamlin didn't score any points in the dual race because they only award points in the top 10 as if it's like a stage, 10 for first, and then 9 for second, 8 for third, all the way back to 1 for 10th. And Hamlin ran out of gas on the last lap, running in the top 5. And he finished 15th in his dual race, so he didn't get any points. That already put Austin Dillon and Almirola 10 points ahead of guys like Hamlin and anybody who finished outside the top 10. And then you factor in that Hamlin didn't win both stages in the 500, had a good points day. The best points day, scored the most points of anybody yesterday, but Austin Dillon more points combined for the whole speed weeks if you count the dual race, and Austin finishing a couple spots ahead of Denny for the race position points yesterday. And again, Austin scored stage points. I know he scored stage points in stage 2. I can't remember if he did in stage 1 or not, but he scored a little bit. Boy, Labonte got loose off turn 4. Really loose. I mean, he's drifting it all the way into turns 1 and 2 right now. He's not pulling away from Dale Jr. since taking the lead. Jr. is right there at lap 50, just about 2 to 3 car lengths behind Labonte, waiting for Terry to make a mistake. Terry might have to tighten this car up just a little bit because the car's getting really skatey on old tires. He'd probably only go a little less than 10 laps on fuel anyway, so he's close to pit stops, but even still. Drifting all the way through the corners. My Mustang's a 2004. It's unique because like the early 2000 Mustangs, honestly, don't look that pretty necessarily, but mine does. The 2004s do because it was like a 40th anniversary car, so it doesn't look anything like the rest of the 2000 Mustangs. Like, I want to say it was like from basically 2000 all the way to like 2007 or something like that. They basically all look the same. But 2004 was the oddball in those like years because it was the 40th anniversary of Mustang, so they wanted to do something like weird and different. So, or not weird, but they want to do something different with like the style of the body and everything. So, and mine's got a hood scoop on it, so that automatically makes it look cool, even though it doesn't need one. But it looks good. It looks like it's much beefier than what it actually is because it's a V6. But by the look of it, it looks like a V8. Which I personally don't care if it's a V6 or V8. Actually, V6 probably helps with the winter time a little bit more because it is less horsepower, but I don't have to worry about manually shifting through snow, making my drive even harder. Look at Labonte is sliding around these lap cars, past all three of them pretty quickly, too, because Dale Jr. did not get through those lap cars as quick. Labonte's going to slide quite a bit into 3 and 4. He did a great job keeping it off the wall. Kenny Wallace coming into the pits. Man, oh man. Labonte slides again, and Dale Jr. right on his back bumper looking for the lead. Matt Kenseth is in it again. A couple lap cars still between him and Jr., but he is about a half a second off the lead at the line. Jr. ran a little too high in 1 and 2. Boy, Labonte can't wait to hit pit road. He's definitely going to tighten this car up just to help him for the end of the run. I don't think he could drive this loose all day at the end of the run. It's fine for now. Labonte slides up the track. He got back in the gas too soon. Into the wall he goes. Still leads that lap, but here comes Junior now. On the high side into turns 1 and 2 for Dale Jr. Trying to make the move on the slow Labonte down the straightaway, taking advantage after Labonte's mistake off turn 4, but Terry clears him off turn 2 and again barely holds on to the lead, and now he's actually out of gas, but it's in a good spot. Labonte was coming to pit road anyway, and Dale Jr. just ran right into the back of the race leader. Ran right into the back of Labonte. Labonte ran out of fuel right in front of him. He had to have known he was out of gas as they were both coming to pit road, but Jr. slammed into him anyways. Half a round of wedge being put back into the race car for Labonte. That's the only adjustment here. Yes, again, 500-mile race in total. Trusted Dylan that. Yeah, Dylan was pretty good. I thought about putting him in my lineup too. I went with Byron because I trusted Byron's recent success with this package on the super speedways, but Austin Dillon was like the guy I barely left out of my lineup because I really did think about it. I was debating on those two for my lineup there. Oh boy, careful. I almost slid up onto the track too soon. That's going to cost Labonte a little bit of time. Having that little bit of a mishap, but we'll see how the car handles on the long run. It was good for about the first 40 laps, and then it really started to turn loose on him for about the last 15. So he went 56 laps into the race before having to pit after running out of fuel going into turns 3 and 4. But I guess if you had to pick any spot to run out of fuel, that was the spot. And he was going to pit that time anyway, so no problems there. Here's Jeff Gordon. So not everybody has hit pit road. Some guys leading some more laps. Bonnie overdrove 3 and 4. Well, now that the car's tighter and he was kind of having a small issue overrunning the corners earlier, he's going to have to back up these corners a little bit more because the car's going to be a little bit tighter than what it was before, but over the long run, it should loosen up as the air pressure builds and the tires wear. As Gordon looks low. This could be a battle for the eventual race lead. Bonnie gripped up really well in turns 3 and 4 that time. But Gordon did too. He's staying right there with him. Again, Jeff racing for a championship. The drive for 5 for Jeff Gordon. All 4 of his NASCAR titles came 2001 and prior into his career. And this is a good shot for Gordon to win the title. Not his best shot with Junior having that 97-point lead and Gordon actually sitting 5th in the standings coming into today's race, but Gordon's not out of it. Especially if Junior blows an engine like he did at Kansas a couple races ago. And boy, Labonte very loose off 4 while Ricardo was inside of Sprague. And with Sprague kind of getting in the way there, that allows Gordon to take over the spot. Labonte gets a great run to cross over Sprague, and he might be able to get to the inside of Gordon into turn 3. The 24 and the 5 have had great battles with each other so far today, but they've raced clean too. It has been a fun race between these two. They're both very fast. They're light years ahead of what Johnson and Nemechek qualified. Of course, Nemechek's out of the race after blowing an engine earlier, but still. Bonnie wasn't a quick crossover on Gordon that time. Took him about an extra lap and a half, but he did get around Jeff in turns 1 and 2. Boy, Jeff got tight. He almost ended up in the wall off turn 2. He might have scraped it. It was really close. Bonnie got right in front of Jeff Gordon, clearing him, and it took the nose off the front of Jeff's car. I guess Labonte lost a little bit more time than what I expected he did. He's actually in 7th, would have been 8th, cycling out of pit road. Seen it running into the back of him there. Wasn't that great? Ethan, I think you've been in the chat before, but welcome. Yeah, by the way, sorry for that. I don't think I've welcomed most of you guys to the stream. Sorry for that. Oh, Marlin in the wall off of... Sorry, not Marlin. Brett Bodine. Marlin's still ahead of Labonte. It was the lap car Bodine that crunched the wall off of 4, and that's going to hold Jeff Gordon back a little bit more again also. Slight wiggle by Labonte in the corner. Again, kind of overdrove it. Clipped in the apron a little bit. Luckily, it wasn't NASCAR 05. Otherwise, it would have spun out on that one. Yeah, I'm not completely sold on Byron, but you can tell he's progressing slightly every year. Very minimal, but it's a game's better than nothing. But he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him. He'll be back in the 24 car again next year. It's not a contract season. So I guess, while you have that advantage of knowing your security with the team you're with, just every year's a learning year. I think he's got to win a race this year, just one. I think he's got to win a race that isn't a super speedway, though, if he really wants to prove himself. Like, super speedways are good to win at. Don't get me wrong, a win's a win, but he's going to have to prove himself outside of that because he hasn't ran in the top 10 of the point standings. I don't even think he finished top 10 last year. So 3 years in the Cup Series in Hendrick Motorsports equipment, and he has failed to finish in the top 10 in points all 3 years. He's made the playoffs the last 2, but he hasn't finished in the top 10. And so you're not really showing if he's going to be a championship caliber, driver later in his career. He's only got 1 win, and it was at Daytona. So he's going to have to win a race that is not Daytona. I think I look at a road course as being a good opportunity for that. Obviously, losing Chad Knaus, I think it's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to hurt more than it's going to help Byron. That's why I had him missing the playoffs. but he might still win on a road course. He's shown to be good there. He's won a handful of stages, really, at the road courses. Ran good in the Clash. I think, he finished 5th or 6th. Ran the top 10 all day. I know it's half as many cars, but he is a pretty decent road course racer. Pretty much all the Hendrick guys are. Except for maybe Larson, but even he can somewhat hold his own.
Number 21 is outside. The 21 car is still there. Be patient. Number 21 is going high. They're on both sides.
Want to get around Ricky Rudd to the inside of Marlin for 6th off of turn 2. 8 people still watching here. 7 people have hit that like button. Again, make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. Bonnie overdrove the corner slightly again, and Rudd was actually able to pass Terry on the outside. Great run by Ricky Rudd through turns 3 and 4. But anyway, yeah, hitting that like button helps out the YouTube algorithm. Getting these videos and streams recommended under other related NASCAR content. Seen that subscribership grow up over the last couple days.
Got one outside.
By the way, I announced the winner on the post-race analysis video for the 500 that came out earlier this morning. I couldn't get it out earlier than what I did, mainly because the race ended just after midnight. I didn't record it last night. I went to bed as soon as the race was over. I was like, man, if I record and edit it, I'm going to be up for another hour, and it's already just after midnight. And I was up late on Thursday with the duels. And although I had the day off, I knew we were going to get a lot of snow, and I was going to have to wake up early the next day. I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. I'm not going to overdo it, so that's why I came out today. Like, I guess it didn't come out too late. It still came out, semi-early. Still came out in the morning hours, so. But usually, if there's no rain delays for a race, which you guys have not been, well, I guess you kind of saw it with the Clash, but kind of not, because it was a night race. But usually the day races, I'll have the videos out by the end of the night. The night races are tough, and then the races with the rain delays obviously are tough because the races are going to end later. So even if I record and get it edited, it still might take another hour or two for the video to actually upload. Excited for Dirt Bristol. Yeah, I am too. I don't know how, the racing will be, but it's definitely not going to be the best dirt race, I'll tell you that much. It could be, it has potential to be a good NASCAR race, but it won't be a good, actual dirt race. The only other problem I kind of have, with NASCAR going on dirt, it's it'll be fun to a certain extent in the historical, meaning and factor of it, but I don't know if it's going to be like a instant classic or anything like that. Bonnie has been going back and forth with Sterling Marlin's, allowed Jeff Gordon to close the gap a little bit more. You can definitely tell there's a little bit of speed that's gotten taken out of Labonte's car after tightening it up a little bit, just because he's having to lift just a tiny bit more in the corners. Although the car does have much more grip, and he's not sliding around as much as we've seen so far. 25, or about 20 laps into this run, so still got about another 30-35 laps yet before the next set of pit stops. Still caution-free today as well. We've had 3 caution-free races this season, and we had 2 back in Season 1. And it was just 3 races ago at Kansas where we had that last caution-free race. And guess who won? Terry Labonte. It's his only win again on a mile and a half this season. Yeah, that definitely stung for Gralla. He was having a good run after starting at the back. Austin Cindric started at the back. I thought for a second there, Cindric having won the Xfinity race and, having 2 teammates of Logano and Keselowski up there, I thought Cindric had a really good shot to win it there late in his first career start, being the Daytona 500. You talk about Trevor Bayne winning second career start, but then you talk about first career start. This is I mean, it's not tandem racing, you know, like the fact that he basically battled his way to where he was and sat himself in that line and pit strategy and everything else that went involved. I mean, that would have been an incredible effort if he pulled off the upset. But again, good for Michael McDowell, though. It's actually kind of nice to see at least a Cup regular win it, you know what I mean? Especially with like the playoffs on the line and stuff. If they're going to have the win and you're in format, I'd rather see a points or a driver in the point standings actually win versus a non-points driver. And honestly, if Cindric's going to run a road course or two this year, he might end up winning a race later this year anyway. Imagine if he pulled off the Daytona 500, then wins a road course later this year. Like, he'll have like 5 starts in his rookie season and win like 2 of them. That would be insane. Kurt Busch trying to block Terry Labonte right now. Oh, great corner by Terry. But Kurt's still blocking, and Gordon been right behind Labonte every step of the way. We'll see Labonte to the inside. Kurt crowded him, but thought about pulling down, actually blocking him a little harder. Didn't. And Labonte's clear for 4th in turns 1 and 2. So Kurt Busch slowly sliding back. Remember, he was in 2nd up until Labonte passed him the first time today, right around lap 40. Terry didn't lead his first lap to lap 46, and that slower stop, and obviously run out of well after that. Bobby Labonte in 3rd. He's slowly charging forward. He's been good on the mile and a half this season. Imagine A.J. Allmendinger wins the Daytona road course on Sunday. Yeah, he might. Remember, though... Oh, yeah, I guess there's no qualifying this week, so it's not like he has to qualify his way in. And they did get owner... It goes by owner points, so like if more than 40 cars enter into a race with no practice or qualifying this year, it goes by owner's points. So because Cascarella actually did have a top 25 run, I think by owner's points they should be in like over some of those other like open cars. And I guess it's good for Cindric too if he's going to be entered in races later this year that he had a good run in the 500. So that way, you know, if there's more than 40 entries on, say, like Road America, if he decides to race there later this year, that, well, I guess Road America will have practice and qualifying anyway. I'm trying to think of a race, maybe like Watkins Glen, I don't know. There's some other racetrack that they're not practicing or qualifying on that Cindric will be able to make the field because at least that car will have owner points. So that's why it was big for him to get in to the 500 as well. I think he's running 5 races this year, if I remember correctly. I don't know what the next race he's supposed to run. But Labonte got close to making contact with the lap car of Christian Fittipaldi. Almost called him Jeff Green because that's who we were seeing yesterday in the Daytona 500. And Jeff Green won his Daytona duel yesterday morning in that 43 car. Fittipaldi's been underperforming in that car here on Thunder 04 this season. So Jeff Green in 1 race is already showing him up in our NASCAR 05 season. Look out for Green to maybe win the Rookie of the Year. Jeff Gordon's definitely looked faster this run than what he was earlier, though, that's for sure. Another slight mistake by Labonte off of 4. Gordon can't clear Fittipaldi on the outside yet, though. Christian's still underneath him. Gaming Hot Plays, welcome to the stream. By the way, if Patrick Shadley shows up in the chat, he won our Daytona 500 league, our inaugural week of the fantasy league on the channel. Means we didn't do a league last year when I started the channel. He won it, scoring 198. Nobody was really close to him. He had about a 38-point win. I was looking at his roster because you can click on the people and see, you know, what the roster looks like, and all of his drivers finished 14th or better, all 5 of them. The only guy he had on his team that was in that big one early in the race was Truex, but he was able to put him in the garage. So everybody else, he had 4 guys in the top 10. It was like, no wonder he scored so many points. They probably all scored a lot of stage points because there wasn't that many competitive cars left, too. So, hey, good for him, though. He won. He'll be on the predictions video for the Daytona Road Course next weekend. And again, you guys get your shot to do that for the following week if you can beat me as well as everybody else in the league next week at the Daytona Road Course, and then you can be on the predictions video for that following week at Homestead. So make sure you join the Fantasy League. Again, go to the NASCAR mobile app or website, go to Fantasy, sign up with your email if you're not signed up already, and then search for KRC League and click join. Have a shot to be on those prediction videos. I think I'm gonna try to do that like over Zoom. I think when we talk, and then I'll just have to record it with OBS and edit it when we're done talking, and kind of like edit out any sort of rambling we might be doing or something like that, because I'll give you guys a good 20 minutes or so. Get any questions you can ask or whatever. But only a couple minutes of that will be on the actual video. Boy, oh boy. Contact with Bobby Labonte and Terry Labonte. The Labontes get together off turn 2. Bobby did not give Terry a lot of room there. I don't know if he got tight off in turn 2, but he did not give Terry a lot of room. And Terry tried to hold his line, just couldn't do it. He ran out of room. Got pinched into the wall, and Terry somehow comes away with the spot still. Moving up to third, but both drivers lose time on the top 2. Yeah, I never really think about taking guys that sit around in the back. I just never think about taking those back marker cars on the super speedways. Might have to start playing that strategy because of the way these super speedway races have been lately. Well, the main reason I don't do it, I look back at Talladega in the spring last year, and literally I can remember that was probably the best week I had in fantasy all year last year because I had the top 5 on my team. And I nearly won the 10 grand that they have for the bigger. They have them for the crown jewel races if you're the highest score on the NASCAR Fantasy app itself for that week. And I almost got it. I think I was 6th. I was only 4 points off. I just didn't have enough bonus points because I didn't predict the right winner. That was the only thing holding me back, is I think I only predicted one of the stage winners right. And that was literally the only bonus points I got. If I just would have predicted the manufacturer or the race winner or the another stage winner, I would have gotten it. It was so close. But I had the top 5 on my team. He's kept his car fairly clean here tonight. He is running down those leaders again. Nearing lap 100 in what has been a caution-free race so far. Labonte pushes tight off of turn 4 and into the wall slightly. Once again. Trying to get around Kevin LePage, and LePage just keeps blocking him. Kind of why Labonte pushed tight off of 4 the last laps. He was right in line behind Kevin. Kevin kept kind of moving up the track. It was just enough to put the air on the front nose of Labonte's race car. And again, tightened into the wall he went. Casey Mears trying to pinch him as well. Ooh, Labonte really drove it in there deep, but barely clears Casey Mears, the lap car. Again, running in third just prior to the 100 lap mark here in today's race at Atlanta. But at least it's caution-free so far, so at least we're having a pretty solid and quick race pace. In our Daytona 500 yesterday on NASCAR 05, we had 5 cautions total, and we actually went 79 laps under green to the end, which is oddly similar to how the green flag racing was at the end of yesterday's race too. Very interesting how that played out. The only difference is in our race we had a different winner, because obviously Michael McDowell's not in this game, so there would have been no chance for, or I should say in 05, there would have been no chance for him to win. Yeah, I didn't realize how long he's really been in the Cup Series, 14 years, but I look back, I'm like, yeah, I guess if he was with Michael Walter Brace in 08, he has been around a while. He was definitely due. Being in the Cup Series for that long and, you know, being close on super speedways before. Good win for Michael. Who should you put your garage besides Bubba Wallace? It just depends on the week. I mean, it's gonna you're gonna change your lineup every week. Remember, the guys that are on your team, you can drop every week. You can only play them. We got a 3-wide battle there going on. Kenseth trying to block Labonte for second. The lap car McMurray got in the way of Kenseth. Held him up just enough, and Labonte looks like he's going to be able to clear Kenseth into turn 3. David Green trying to go high and get out of the way. Good for him, and he still holds up Matt Kenseth as Kenseth picked the wrong line. Labonte barely keeps it off the wall. Stayed in the gas, but kept it off the wall off turn 4. He's just under a second and a half behind Dale Jr. Trying to run him down before these next set of pit stops. But yeah, anyway, that's going to change on a weekly basis. You can change your whole 5. Because you can only start somebody 10 times throughout the course of the year. So whoever you started and locked in as your starting lineup this week, at Daytona, you can only use those guys 9 more times for the rest of the year. So you have to be very, very cautious of who you're using. You don't want to say use Chase Elliott, you know, like 6 times in the first half of the season. You're like, oh, I only have him 4 more times for the last like 13 or 14 races, you know, and you have like 3 road courses on the schedule left that you want to use them at. You know, you're just going to start to run out of usages. I didn't play that game very well last year, and I think that's what cost me the Fantasy League Championship in the NASCAR Weekly Podcast League, because I used Harvick and Hamlin so much throughout the course of the year, and although they helped me, I couldn't use them those last 3 races of the season. And Harvick swept the Michigan doubleheader, and I could have used him for both of those races. I just used him too early, or like, you know, Hamlin won one of the races at Dover too. It cost me at the end of the year, because I was leading in that league for a while too. So I definitely know for this year to save my usages up. It will come into play. It won't bite you now, and it'll probably help you now, because you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm in the lead in the league. But then you get to those final like 5-6 races of the year, and you're like, man, I have like 5 guys I can't use, and they're like in the top 10 at point. Like, they're solid guys. So you definitely don't want that to happen, because that happened to me last year. But I tried that strategy because the year before, I had, you know, like, I got to like Kyle Busch, who actually had a good season in 2019, or a decent year at least in the regular season, and won the championship, obviously in the playoffs, but he had a good regular season, won the regular season title. But I used him, I didn't use him enough. Like, I still had like 2 or 3 usages out of him at the end of the year. I was like, okay, I need to start using these guys more. So I went into last year, I used them more, but it cost me in the end because I used them too much. So I know this year I should have a good time, you know, evening them out, because this will be the 3rd year I played it now. Should have a pretty easy job of, you know, evening them out this year. I have a pretty good idea and strategy of how I'm going to do it. How do you edit? Won't let you? Well, it'll probably be locked right now. You have to go back in like later in the week. I think like usually on like Wednesday or Thursday they'll open it up for the next week that you can change them. You have to hit that like arrow looking thing on the right side of your driver. But yeah, you can change them. It'll probably be locked right now. It usually is the day after the race, but I guarantee by Thursday it'll be good to go for the next week. Just have to remember. But I'll be remembering you guys, or reminding you guys, especially with the predictions videos anyway. So. Well, we got a battle for the lead right before pit stops, and Labonte not wasting any time to get to the inside of Dale Jr. driving it in deep, and he's got the race lead, but he might have overdrove it. Labonte gets tight up the track, and Junior going to cross him back over. And Labonte not actually able to take the lead that time, but boy, he went for it. So here's the battle again. Oh, contact between the top two.
I think he's starting to not like it. On your line. Still there.
Contact between Dale Jr. and Terry Labonte as they battle for the lead. Labonte overdrove 1 and 2 a little bit into the left rear of Dale Jr. And A-Car is blistering fast. Labonte got a little loose off turn 4. Pit stop's coming up in a couple laps. Labonte drives it in deep again. Oh boy, he really used him up. He didn't actually hit him. It was a clean block, clean pass, but boy, that was close. And Terry Labonte back out in front again at Atlanta. This time he's not going to give it up in turns 3 and 4. Junior is on his way to leading the most laps today. I guess that was a little bit of payback, unintentional payback for when Junior ran into the back of Labonte earlier, coming into the pit lane. He just ran over him. After knowing Labonte was slow for a little bit before that anyway, but I guess a slight bit of contact kind of evened itself out, and he's not mad enough to take a swing either, so that's good. Hopefully we see some more good, hard, clean racing between the two the rest of the day, because it has been a good race today, despite the fact that it has been green flag all the way to the end. You could have good green flag races, and this has been one of them. New with the things. Yeah, hey, no problem. I'm here to guide you through it. That's why every week we do the prediction videos, and I try to base them on fantasy and give you guys advice on drivers to stay away from, drivers who could be sleepers. And that's the idea with the sleeper picks. Like, all 3 of my sleeper picks this week I had on my team. Now, that's not going to be the case all the time because I'll go, heavy on certain weeks, but, with a star-studded lineup. But you do have to use sleeper picks throughout the year so you don't use those top guys up early. So that's why I had, someone like Bubba Wallace on my team, which I think Bubba will be better this year in his equipment. But I don't think I'm going to be using him 10 times either. I don't think he's going to be, one of those top guys that I'm going to use all 10 times. So, on a super speedway, why not use him? 56-lap run for Labonte, just like the last time.
I'd like to see him stay back there.
And Labonte trying to slow down Dale Jr. a little bit before coming to pit road. Got to make sure he doesn't speed still. Oh, by 1 mile an hour. By 1 mile an hour, Terry Labonte is caught for speeding. And he was coasting it onto pit road. That's amazing how that happened. Again, the Fantasy League is KRC League. KRC in all caps, Keegan's Racing Channel. KRC League. PFP is your yeah, KRC League. That's a costly penalty for Terry Labonte and his crew. It's only 5 seconds, but that is still time nevertheless. That is lost on pit road right there, and just a tough break for Terry Labonte. Just took the race lead a couple laps before coming into the pits. He's going to have to start pitting after 55 instead of 56 laps because that's the second time he's taken in 56 laps, but he ran out of gas coming into the pits. Not by much. Again, he runs out going into turn 3, but it's just a little bit of time, a little bit too much time. Mistake off turn 4 that lap as well, brushing the wall, getting up to speed. Yeah, it was 71 miles. I mean, it was by 1 mile per hour. It was definitely close. I noticed it was at 71 when I crossed the line, so I knew right away we were speeding by 1 mile an hour. All right, thanks, Tyler. Yeah, it should give us 10 guys. Again, if you win, you get to show up on the predictions video for next week. And if you win the league championship, I'll buy you 2 tickets to any NASCAR event of your choosing in 2022. You can take a family or a friend along. If you're under the age of 18, it does have to be an adult for obvious reasons, and I'll try to make the trip as well myself to that said racetrack. I'm not one for going to the same track more than once, so I'm going to just hope that it's a different track and hope that it's one I can plan on in 1 year, but I'll try to make it out. There's a bunch of tracks that are like on the East Coast I haven't been to yet, like Richmond. I will be going to Martinsville this year in the fall. I was supposed to go last year. I'll be in Charlotte for the Coke 600, so it's a couple races, you know, on the East that I haven't been to. There's Dale Jr. Labonte should cycle into the eventual lead. Boy, what a block by Mark Martin. Labonte went all the way to the apron down the back straightaway just to keep getting hit. Slides up the track. Mark crossing him over. These two are battling for position right now as well. I don't think Mark's led a lap yet either. Yo mama, welcome to the stream. These two battling hard right now. This could very much allow Dale Jr. to close in on these two. Jr.'s got a really fast race car today. Bonnie again to the inside of Mark Martin. Jr. had a very slow pit stop because he cycled out in 8th and he's cycled in to the lead after the first stops. That's really interesting. Bonnie finally gets around Martin for 6th. Just short of first with 188. I think your points carry into the league, though, even though you weren't in the league last week. Like, I think you'll have 188, so as far as the season end championship, you should still have a chance. Because I missed joining on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast League, and I joined in during the COVID break, so after the first 4 races, because I didn't know they were having a league again last year. So, but when I joined, all my points carried over still from what I had before, because I wasn't in a league, or I was in a different league and exited that one and joined. So, yeah. So Matt McDowell won the 500. I think it's good for him. I mean, there was definitely more deserving drivers that probably should have won, but at the same time, Michael McDowell has run well in super speedways in the past. Again, that front road team has won, you know, before on a super speedway back in 2013 with the Gen 6 car, nonetheless. So they have been fast on the super speedways. John Hunter Nemechek almost won Talladega last year too. In the spring, he ran really well. So those teams have been really fast in the super speedways before. What, Nemechek finished 3rd, I think it was, last year at Talladega? 3rd or 4th? I think he finished 4th. I think Almirola spun across the line in 3rd. Junior got around Mark Martin. Remember, they're battling for the championship.
Okay, time to go. Clear's about 6 seconds ahead. Best place for him is in your rear view mirror. The 8 car is gaining on you. Number 8 is inside. The 8 car is
Oh, it was a different fantasy league. Well, that stinks. You still got a chance to win the weekly prizes, so you got something to play for, you know, with that aspect of being featured on the prediction videos. Man, that 8 car is really fast today. He had a slow stop there, but he just blew right around Terry Labonte and Mark Martin and Sterling Marlin, because I think he came out behind Sterling too. Yeah, exactly. And you guys, when you guys win the league, you get to go to a race next year with the next gen car. The only race you cannot pick is the 2022 Daytona 500. And that's only because I plan on being there anyway. I've missed out the last 3 years when I've wanted to go, and I'm not passing it up again next year. So, and I'm going to be down there the full week, so I'm not going to spend any extra money that I already am going to plan on spending for the Daytona 500 for Speed Weeks next year. So that's the only reason I'm excluding that race, but any other race or racetrack on NASCAR's schedule, I will give you guys Cup Series tickets. Again, 2 of them. So again, you can go with a family or a friend. And again, if you're under the age of 18, it has to be an adult, obviously. And I need to speak with them before buying your tickets. Yeah, again, the weekly prizes, you get featured on the predictions video. So PSHAT Motorsports will be on, which, I believe it's Patrick Shatterly. I think that's his. I didn't, he didn't say if it was him or not, and I haven't seen him in the chat yet tonight, but hopefully I see him before the end of the week, which I would assume he'll be in the chat, so try to, contact each other with email or Discord or something. And he'll be featured on the predictions video, voicing his predictions for the Daytona Road Course next week. So those are the weekly prizes. Again, not like I'm, paying out of pocket, especially I'm not monetized yet. So, it's not like you guys are going to be getting like gift cards or anything like that. I'm not monetized. I'm not making money off YouTube right now, so that's going to be a no-go. But I should be monetized by the end of the season for those tickets. Honestly, having that many subscribers in the first calendar year still. By the way, our 1-year anniversary is tomorrow on the channel, so we'll have a special race tomorrow on the channel. Our 1-year Annie. And again, I did not get the new controller yet. I bought it, but we had a big snowstorm today that I think the mail's probably backed up. I might get it tomorrow, but it's supposed to snow all night into the morning too. Again, 10 to 14 inches where I live, so it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's the most snow we've gotten in one one actual snowfall at all this year. The closest we got to that was last week when we got 6 to 8 inches. So yeah, we're gonna have a couple feet of snow on the ground here total because none of that melted. It's been 20 degrees or lower since then, and windy. Mike Skinner's holding up Terry Labonte right now. Terry's trying to get around him. He stuck turns 1 and 2 beautifully, though. He should clear him easily off turn 2. And does. I'll tell you what, by the time Labonte might try to charge down the leaders, I think Dale Jr. is probably going to have the lead before him. Jr. just blew right around him earlier in the run. Andrew Hollenbach, welcome to the stream. Michael McDowell, wow, yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody expected that, but hey, that's what you like to see. That's what Daytona's all about, though. Literally anybody can win, and you just don't think about those guys winning. You kind of joke around about it, but when it actually happens and it becomes reality, it's hard to fathom. Because it really was. It was hard to fathom yesterday. It's like, man, he won the Daytona 500. And it really wasn't until, right before I went to bed, which was about 20 minutes to a half hour after the race ended last night, because I didn't record last night. I was watching the interviews. It was nice. It was a heartfelt moment, too, with him celebrating. I got chills when he was celebrating with his team. And, in his interview, I had chills, because I was like, I felt great for the guy. That's what you want to see. You want to see those moments. Not every year you want an underdog to win, because then it'll become complacent, But that's the idea of an underdog. Is once in a while you get these, or in this aspect, it seems like once every 10 or 11 years, you get this upset winner in the Daytona 500. And it's just awesome. He'll forever be known as the 2021 Daytona 500 champion. And that's really cool. Same thing with Trevor Bayne. Everybody looks back at Trevor Bayne as like that guy that won that one race, but you know what that one race was? It was the 2011 Daytona 500. Forever a Daytona 500 champ. And there's a lot of guys in NASCAR. Rusty Wallace, Tony Stewart, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., champions of the sport that have not won the Daytona 500. It is no easy task. So what Michael McDowell pulled off last night by no means was a fluke. He put himself in that position late in the race. Even though he was the guy bump drafting Keselowski and Logano, he still put himself in that position. He made it through the carnage and won the Daytona 500. These lap cars have not been paying any sort of respect to Terry Labonte this run. He was battling hard with Skinner for a couple laps. He was battling hard with Kyle Petty for a couple laps. He closed on both of those guys pretty quickly for obvious reasons. How about the day Jimmy Johnson has had? Haven't talked about him much, but he started way back in 41st. And we're almost halfway done here today at Atlanta. And here he is, riding in the 8th position, closing in on one of his teammates, Terry Labonte. Labonte definitely flatlined that corner. He entered in way too deep. Yeah, Austin, I mean, not exactly the same way, but I guess you could say Austin Dillon was an upset winner. The fact that at the time he only had one other career win leading up to that, yeah, I'd say he was an upset winner. For sure. He still only got like 3 career wins, but he's had some big wins in his career. Coke 600, Daytona 500, that's awesome. I felt bad for my man Blaney, though, wrecking out in lap 15. It sucks when your favorite driver gets taken out in that lap 15. Re-pumped up for it, but then, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I got nobody to root for the rest of this race, so I was watching as a casual fan pretty much the entire race yesterday. That wasn't a bad thing at all. I mean, I usually watch as a casual fan anyway, and if Blaney's in contention to win, that's when I'm really gung-ho and trying to root for him. But, if not, I'm pretty much watching as a casual fan anyway. But casual fan meaning, I should say diehard fan, but you know what I mean, like casually watching the race as like an outsider, not really pulling for anybody that was at the front. But it's kind of cool. Blaney is unlucky, man. Blaney's probably the most unluckiest young driver, I think, out there in the Cup Series right now. I thought for a while it was Chase Elliott, but once Chase Elliott got that first career win, now he's a champion, so I guess you can't say he's unlucky anymore. I mean, Blaney, like, look at last season with Ryan Blaney. Last 2 seasons. The last 2 seasons. He could have easily won 3 or 4 races at least. And he has such terrible luck that he only wins 1 race. So, yeah, the running gag of Blaney's only won 1 race, each of the last 4 seasons. You look at Texas last year, if it wasn't for Quinn Houff pitting from the 3rd lane, he would have won that race. I mean, he was dominating, won the first 2 stages. He led like 185 laps in the race, and there was still like 30 to 40 laps left when Quinn Houff, had that accident. Blaney had it won. And then you look at Bristol last year when he spun from the lead, and that was his own fault that time. And then he saved it, and Ty Dillon, he just tore the front of his car up. Las Vegas last year, he was leading with 2 laps to go. Caution came out. And then they made the bad decision of pitting under the caution. Everybody stayed out. In that race, he would have won if there was no caution. Bowman was close to him, but it would have been tough to get around him with 2 to go. Fontana last year, he was running second, but that was a race Bowman would have won anyway. But he was running in second, and won a stage earlier in the race. It was him and Bowman were the 2 fastest cars. Bowman was going to win. Blaney was going to finish second, and he blew a tire. He finished second by a nose last year to Denny Hamlin in the Daytona 500 by 7 1,000ths of a second. Like, Blaney was so close to winning 4 or 5 races last season, and he only won 1. But that's NASCAR. It's so unpredictable, even on these racetracks you wouldn't think are unpredictable, like Texas, like Las Vegas, those 1.5 miles even. And it all kind of boils down, and then at the end of the year, he didn't have those playoff points he needed, and he was eliminated in the round of 16. If he would have won those 4 or 5 races, he would have had enough playoff points even with the bad round of 16. He would have made it into the round of 12, and he had a good round of 12. He probably would have made it to the round of 8, and then from that point, if he had those playoff points, maybe he could have had a good shot. We got trouble off of turn 4, and these guys are going to have to race back through it. Caution's out for the first time today. An accident off of turn 4. There's heavy smoke as they race back to the caution flag. The leaders are going through. Oh, heavy smoke. Nobody can see a thing. Somebody went through the grass. And it took about half the race, but we get our first yellow. Oh, hard crash. Bill Elliott, Ricky Craven go around, and Elliott's day is done. I don't know if he was just sitting there or if he spun out. I think Elliott spun off of turn 4 and Craven just clobbered him. Labonte's going to hit pit road. He is the only driver coming into the pits under this caution. Blaney out of fuel at Fontana instead of tires. No, he had a tire going down. Well, at least last year. You might have been talking about a year before. No, last year he had a tire going down because the one of his rear tires were cording, and you could see like it was cording pretty bad. It might not have made it to the end of the race, and he had to bring it down. Atlanta 2019. I went to that race, and Blaney was leading with about 70 laps to go in the race. And he didn't have a dominant car, but he took the lead, and we know with the 550 package, if you have the track position, it's almost your race to lose. And as soon as he came to pit road, the caution came out and he got trapped a lap down. Like, I could not believe it. I thought I was going to see him win a race in person. And then that happened, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, he has such bad luck. Bristol in 20... I think it was 2019. He was battling for the lead, and similar situation to last year where he spun out. It was in the night race, though, I think, instead of the day race. I mean... crazy. Jacked up restart here. So green flag is back in the air after a caution for a spin from Bill Elliott. Ricky Craven piled into the back of him. Elliott stays done. Craven's still on the track. You see him right there. He might shed some debris. Oh, we got a checkup off turn 4. Cars are crashing in the outside wall. Labonte ran right into the back of another car. Cuts through the grass to miss everybody. And unbelievably, Terry Labonte's up to 4th. I don't know what happened there, but that field got stacked up in a hurry. And Labonte's already got about 25 to 30 lap fresher tires as it is. I don't know how that started. Somebody got pancaked in the wall by somebody else. And now Labonte's less than a second off the lead in 4th. This race has really played into his hands. Tries to get around the lap car of Casey Mears. He's got Ryan Newman for 3rd, just in front of him. Gordon in 2nd. Labonte trying to side draft Casey Mears. Man, pitting is really looking like a good idea to the back bumper of Ryan Newman. And he puts him in the wall, and Newman tries to pay him back down the front stretch. Newman tried to hit him earlier. That's why Labonte put him in the wall that time. Terry overran the corner a little bit, 1 and 2. Gordon trying to block and hold on to 2nd. Labonte with a crossover to the inside of Jeff Gordon. 3 wide down the front stretch with the 24, the 5 in the lap car, the 45 of Kyle Petty. Labonte sends it into the corner. Clears Jeff Gordon for 2nd. Back to watch the GOAT race. Yeah, I don't know how there wasn't a caution off turn 4 in the restart. They stacked up so bad there was smoke on the front stretch. Labonte drove through it, and now he's going for the lead off of turn 4. Kenseth trying to block on the outside. Labonte to the inside. Kenseth got loose off of 4. This is the first laps of the race Kenseth has led. Labonte hard into 1 and 2. Clears Matt Kenseth for the lead. And with the fresher tires, this race all of a sudden at the halfway mark has just played right into Terry Labonte's hands. about as perfectly as he could have asked for. And this is the race he needs, a turnaround of a race if he wants a shot at the title still. Got a couple lap cars in front of him before he actually gets into clean air. Robbie Gordon in the singular Chevrolet being one of those. I think Jamie McMurray just ahead of him in the 42. Great call coming to pit road by Labonte. Obviously the stack up on the restart helped him, but blown engine on the inside of the racetrack. Sterling Marlin, his rough season continues. Boy, it seems like he blows an engine every 2 to 3 races, if not more. He just blew an engine at Kansas a couple races ago again, and now here today at Atlanta in a 500-mile race. And we've seen these 500-mile races, the attrition of just trying to get these engines to the end. You look back at Lowe's Motor Speedway 2 races ago, and we had 13 engine failures. Yes, 13 drivers failed to finish that race. And you're almost kind of leaning towards something like that again today at Atlanta, the way things have gone on so far. A 1.4-second lead for Labonte. Just trying to pull away now. 21 drivers on the... Well, I guess 20 now with Marlin being knocked out of the race. Yes, caution came out for Bill Elliott spinning off turn 4. Ricky Craven piled hard into him as they raced back to the caution flag. They missed all the... There wasn't really any debris on the track, luckily, but everybody missed it. Labonte came to pit road under the caution, and everybody else stayed out, giving Labonte 25 to 30 lap fresher tires. They were about halfway through the run. And Labonte just tore right through the field on the restart. There was a stack up on the first lap. Off of turn 4 after the restart, Labonte drove around at least 20 to 25 cars to get up to 4th place. Between the lap cars and him lining up 21st on the restart, got to 4th in the first lap and a half because of it. And a handful of laps later, he passes Kenseth for the lead. Labonte trying to go for that 11th win of the season. We had 14 wins in Season 1 with Greg Biffle, but a more inconsistent season because we were 9th in the point standings at the end. Labonte's 10th right here with 10 wins on the year and 4 races to go. So if he could just, even win a couple of these and just get to the end of the other couple, Labonte will finish higher than what we did with Biffle in Season 1. So there is improvement from Season 1 to Season 2, but the bad luck that we had in the second half of the year has seemingly put a dagger in the championship hopes of Labonte, but again, not mathematically out. But with this race turning up on its side after that caution and that restart and the off-strategy play for Labonte, you can't count him out of the championship yet, especially if he goes to victory lane today. And this is going to help too, because Dale Jr. led a ton of laps to start this race. I mean, he's probably led over 100 laps today, and Labonte's probably led maybe 15 to 20 laps at the most. But now, with this strategy, we know for a fact Labonte's going to be able to lead at least 50 to 55 laps before he has to pit again. Then he'll be able to run back through these guys on fresh tires again, and he'll lead for probably another, 30 laps or so, 25 laps, 3 pits after that. So, I mean, this strategy has played into Labonte's favor. The only thing that could go wrong is if he has to make one extra pit stop compared to everybody else to the finish, which is possible. We've seen that in the past when Labonte, or you look at Jimmy Johnson yesterday in our Daytona 500 on NASCAR 05, where he went off strategy late in the race and it costed him a chance to win the 500, and he fell a lap down at the end. Or if it would have played out, it would have been brilliant. He would have won the race by he would have won the race by a lot, but it didn't pan out. He had to pit an extra time because of it, and it cost him a chance to win because he didn't have any drafting help. And obviously finishing a lap down outside the top 30 on top of it was definitely a huge hit. P3 in fantasy. Yeah, you had a good week, I saw, Andrew. Keep it going. The super speedways are the hardest, so if you can have a good week in fantasy in the super speedways and you're smart with your picks, and do your research on the other tracks, you can have a really good season. Super speedways are where you can like win or lose your fantasy league in NASCAR for sure. I know it's where I lost last year. I went in with a shot to win the NASCAR Weekly Podcast League last year into Daytona, the end of the regular season, and the guys I had that race, I think all but like one of them crashed out. so I ended up like not having a shot to win it, but I had a shot going in. I was less than 100 points back, which, you know, again, third in the fantasy. But as mentioned, I didn't have those heavy hitters on my team because I couldn't use them anymore. So I was kind of left, you know, without the heavy hitters going into that last race on even though it was a super speedway, and that costed me. Yep, got the Cheez-It Chevy today, but we are not using the Cheez-It hat, at least so far. We kind of ruined the curse. It's in my room, so if I'm leading late, I might throw it on. But remember, we did not win with the Cheez-It scheme in our last race we ran it with at Lowe's Motor Speedway. We finished 10th. So we ended the streak. This is going to be huge if a caution comes out during this run to trap the field a lap down, especially if Dale Jr. is one of those drivers, because we talked about the race getting flipped on its side. All Labonte wants going into Homestead is a chance. 151 points of the championship, and at least he's got a chance mathematically to win it. That's what he's looking for in these next 3 races leading up to that. Because you never know what can happen from there. Junior blows an engine, and Labonte goes on to lead the most laps and wins. As long as Junior doesn't lead a lap before he would blow an engine, I mean, there you go. That's it. That's why you can't count him out, even leading up to it. And he's looking strong today. So the only downfall, again, is that this is a mile and a half, and Homestead's a mile and a half. And he hasn't won on the mile and a half more than once. Kansas was the only one. And actually, for this race, it's probably going to be the hardest of the two, because this is a 500-mile race. And on the 500-mile or more mile-and-a-half races, Lowe's Motor Speedway, he finished 10th. He DNF'd at Atlanta earlier this season. Got crashed out by a lap car with less than 100 laps to go, battling for the lead nonetheless. The Coke 600, he crashed out 100 laps in. Also at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. At Texas, he finished 13th. Got to the end of the race, but didn't finish in the top 10. So on the 500-mile races on the mile-and-a-halves this year, out of 4 of them leading into this race today, Terry Labonte has only finished in the top 10 once, with his best finish of 10th. And it was in that last one at Lowe's Motor Speedway 2 races ago. So the odds and the statistics not in Labonte's favor today, but he is trying to prove everybody wrong. Junior still has to hit the pits. Gordon's 10 seconds off the lead in second. Well, not right now everyone would be a lap down. We'd have to wait for everybody to cycle through. Not everybody is pit yet. Again, we just saw the top 5. Guys like Ryan Newman, Dale Jr., and Jeff Gordon have not pit yet. They're trying to wait it out as long as they can, I'm sure, just so that way they don't get trapped a lap down. Michael Waltrip also has to pit, so does Kurt Busch. I think Newman just came down, so he's out of the top 5 now. Yeah, I'll save my predictions analysis for the video next week, but I'd be a little leery on Bubba Wallace on a road course. Just putting that out there. I don't know so much about Suarez. He's ran good at like Watkins Glen before, at least, in the Roval. So I guess that wouldn't be a bad pick, but Bubba Wallace, I know he's in better equipment, but You know, the road courses and short tracks are really where the drivers can kind of overcome their equipment. I think that's why we've seen Bubba Wallace run well on short tracks. Like, look at last year where he had a top 10 at Martinsville and he, you know, ran good at Bristol. You know what I mean? Like, he's had good runs on the short tracks, but the road courses have just not played well for him. I'd be a little leery on that. I'd have to look up the stats to back it up for the predictions video, but I know off the top of my head he's definitely not one of those top drivers to probably take on a road course next week. Halfway through the field run for Terry Labonte, so he could probably go. Again, he's only going to go 55 laps this time. He's not going to go 56 and give up a little bit extra time this time. That caution, again, played into his favor. Jeff Green and Kurt Busch just on pit road now, so Labonte has lapped the field because he went off strategy, but everybody else has fresher tires than him now. So they're going to really start cutting back into Terry Labonte's lead before Labonte comes in the pit lane, and we'll have to see where everything cycles out after that. How much Labonte pull ahead versus what they're going to be able to gain on him. Now, Labonte got out to about a 10-second lead before the pit stop started. So again, they'll be trying to cut into that 10-second deficit from before they came to pit road. Tim Irvin, welcome. I think you've been in the chat already too. But again, I wasn't keeping good track tonight of seeing who was in the chat and who wasn't. I have been answering your questions pretty well. I just haven't really seen who's been asking them. Really trying to focus. Especially on a 500-miler like this one today. Dale Jr., another slow stop for Dale Jr. He's not in the top 5 anymore like he was before. But you look at a guy like Jeff Gordon who stayed out just as long as Dale Jr., and he's still in the top 3. So Junior's pit crew, although they had a good first stop of the race, really good first stop, they came way out ahead of the field under Green. The last two have not gone in the 8 car in the 8 team's favor. He's got a fast car on the track that he's still been running in the top 10 at least, if not better. And he has led, again, a lot of laps. Oh yeah, Chase Elliott's definitely high up on that radar next week. I don't know. You can look at the percentage of people that have him in the league for the week, and I guarantee it's going to be above 60%. It might be above 80%, especially with him being a fan favorite as it is, and then being good on road courses. Yeah, that would definitely be a no-brainer. I would be shocked if anybody in our league did not have Chase Elliott on their fantasy team next week. I'd be absolutely shocked, because I'll just go out and say it right now. I know I was going to keep my prediction silent, but Chase Elliott will be on my fantasy team next week. It is kind of a given. He will be one of the must-haves. Jeff Green trying to get back around Labonte. See Mark Martin pull away from him a little bit with Labonte on a little bit older tires right now, and obviously Jeff Green trying to get around him on his fresh tires. Green went a little too high in 1 and 2, not going to get around him there. If he gets underneath of Labonte, Terry's going to let him go, but not really battling hard with one another right now, I'd say. Give you slack on predicting Snyder in the 38, although it was Alfredo. I mean, you were right with the fact it was a guy that ran for RCR part-time last year in the Xfinity Series. You just had the wrong guy for RCR. That's actually a pretty good prediction, though, the fact that you were... I'd consider you close on that pick. If we're not really hearing many rumors about it. And it was a prediction. It wasn't like you were saying, oh, I heard that such and such was going to... You know, if you would have said that, then you would have been kind of like, okay, you didn't hear that from anybody. You made it up. But no, I remember you saying, I bet, he'll be in there as a prediction. I'm all for bold predictions. You guys know that. You guys saw we've been doing the preseason predictions videos. I am keeping track at that again this year. I had 5 races I predicted right last year before the season started, so I'm hoping to improve on that and go with 6. And then the week-by-week predictions, I had 9 races of the 36 predicted correctly, so a quarter of the season, which is actually really good. I mean, you would think it's easier to predict, the winner of 9 races during the course of a NASCAR season, but if you think about it, it's actually kind of hard to predict that many. That's a quarter of the season. But I was able to get 9 right, so I'm going to hope to improve on that, and hopefully we can hit 10 this year, because that'd be even better. I kind of set the standard and set the bar high year 1 of the channel of those predictions, but hopefully I can keep improving at least by 1 every year. That'd be pretty cool. Jeff Green was sitting patiently behind Labonte there for a little bit. But again, the good thing is that Terry's leading a lot of laps right now. Just something he did not do a lot of up until this pit strategy. So if this is what's going to get him the most laps led today, that's good for him. Again, just 1 caution today for spin off turn 4. Bill Elliott just lost control of his car. And as he was coming down the racetrack towards the grass, he just got creamed by Ricky Craven. Right in the rear end, and Bill Elliott ended up catching flames. He's done for the day, and Craven again still out there but under power with heavy damage to the front of his car. No debris caution though after that. Again, that was the only yellow of the race. Harvick's not good. Yeah, Harvick might have some bad luck. He is not having good runs at that track. Good speed weeks for Harvick, though. He looked really fast in the dual race, and he was up front in the 500 a lot. Obviously, had a chance to win it late and finished 4th. So it kind of sucked when he pulled out of line to follow Keselowski and McDowell, and then Keselowski and McDowell went right back to the outside in front of Harvick, and Harvick was still in the bottom, and he got trained and lost all his track position. If it wasn't for that crash, Harvick probably wouldn't have even gotten the top 10, despite being in 2nd with 2 to go. But because of that crash and him making it through it, he ended up back into 4th. Last year he got 1 race right. There was a second Dover race. Yeah, I was right on 9 predictions last year. I do heavy research. By heavy, I mean I'll sit down on Racing Reference for a half hour to an hour before I do right before I do my predictions videos. Start taking notes. Sometimes I'll do it a couple days a week. A couple half-hour stints if I'm really not sure. Like the super speedways, I kind of do that. Especially at the 500 here this week. My predictions weren't far off. My sleeper picks, Bubba Wallace did good. Almirola got crashed out early. Nothing I can do about that. Same for Blaney. Denny Hamlin ran well as expected. Truex did not run well as expected. He was caught up in that wreck. He always seems to have bad luck. He was on my don't haves. I didn't want to see him in your guys' lineup. And I still saw him on one guy's lineup. What are you doing? Were you not watching the video? I told you not to take Truex. No, but anyway, all kidding aside, yeah, he didn't run too well. Kyle Larson impressed me because I did not have him as a driver you should have in your lineup, and he actually overperformed, I thought. He didn't... I'm trying to think. I think he finished 10th, if I remember correctly. I think he got a top 10. I could be wrong on that, but he was running in the top 10 late. He was in that lead pack at least. I don't know if he got taken out in that crash. But even if he didn't, he still ran better than what I thought. If he didn't finish in the top 10, then I guess I was right with my prediction saying that don't put Larson in your team. Because there were better options, but wasn't a lot of better options. But yeah, Hamlin 2 stage wins and finished 5th. Highest scoring driver. That was kind of a no-brainer, obviously, to take him, but that's why it's, a driver you must have in your lineup. That's why I stress it. I put the facts forward and all the data and analysis I can. Yeah, I think that was Ryan Blaney's worst Daytona 500 he's had in his career. Because his first full-time season, was 2017. 2016 he ran full time, but he didn't run all 36 races with the Wood brothers. I don't believe. I think he ran like most of the schedule, but I don't think he ran all of it. And then 2017 he won. I think he was considered a rookie in 2015 because he ran 2 races in 2014. And then I think he was considered a rookie in 2015, but he only ran like half the season. And then he ran over half the year in 2016, but I don't think he ran every race. And then he finished runner-up in 2017 and 2019, or sorry, 2017 and 2020. 2018 he led over 100 laps and finished 7th. And then 2019 was kind of that oddball year where he led laps. I think he led 31 laps in the race, but he didn't have a great finish. He got caught up in a wreck late while battling for the lead. But yeah, this one getting taken out at lap 15, that was tough. About 3 gallons of fuel left for Terry Labonte before he'll have to come to pit road and make a green flag stop. It'll be his 4th of the race. After pitting under that last caution, it'll be the 3rd green flag stop of the race for him. Larson's 10th. Yeah. Yeah, I thought he finished 10th. So I was right on that. I was trying to remember it. Yeah, the top 10 was, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure I got this right then. But the top 10 would have been Michael McDowell winning, Chase Elliott 2nd, Austin Dillon 3rd, 4th was Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin 5th, Ryan Preece 6th, Ross Chastain 7th, Jamie McMurray 8th, Corey LaJoie 9th, and Kyle Larson 10th. I'm pretty sure that was the top 10. Yeah, I got pretty good memory skills. That's why I can remember all these stats and numbers and everything. That's why it helps with the realistic broadcast, because it's something I have to remember when I get in. There, but obviously it's nice to have your own stuff too. Ryan Blaney ran 36 races in 20. Okay, so he did run all 36. Okay, so that was his first full-time season. I know he missed the playoffs that year, but I couldn't remember if he ran all. I was thinking he ran like 32 or 34 races or something like that. Like Wood Brothers couldn't run the full season or something. I don't know why that might have been the year before. Contact! Wow, Park almost went around. I think he saved it. Contact off turn 4. Labonte got loose and slammed right into Steve Park on the bottom of the racetrack. Park somehow saved it. I don't even know how. And Labonte drives on. Our Martinsville winner, Jeremy Mayfield, trying to get a lap back. Ooh, Mayfield almost brushed the wall off for. Labonte got loose again on these older tires, just trying to hang on. Got very lucky he did not crash there. Nor Steve Park. It was good to have that stay green. Yeah, I wish it never rained for the 500 too. That's a bummer. They got to get those early start times. I know I'm on the East Coast, well, Eastern time zone, but still. Especially the tracks that don't have lights, they need early start times. And it's been raining in the 500 a lot too. The Florida races, because you saw Homestead last year, it rained too. Remember at Homestead they were going to start that race at like 3:30, and it rained. Like right as they were pulling the cars off onto the racetrack, it rained, and then they didn't get the race going again until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Kind of similar to how the 500 went, honestly. Only the 500, at least they got 15 laps in, but still, you don't want to see that. And it rained. It hurts when people are going home because they can't stay the next day, and then it hurts TV ratings because nobody wants to sit through a 5+ hour rain delay. It's got to be hurting them more than it's helping them anyway. Put the start times back. Taylor Labonte coming to pit road. Taking the lap less, so that way he didn't have to worry about fuel this time. 4 fresh tires, full tank of fuel for Terry Labonte. Fourth stop of the race, third under green. Yeah, they need, I'm not saying start it at noon necessarily, but you got to start it by 1:30. 1:30 at the latest. 1:30 at the latest is what I'd go with. You can go 1 o'clock, like coverage at 1, do the national anthem, do the driver start your engines, do the parade laps, and then make sure the race starts by 1:30. Perfect stop for Terry Labonte. We're about to see where he cycles off of pit road. He'll have fresher tires again anyway. Here comes Tony Stewart. Oh, man. Bonnie got tight coming out of the pit lane. Had to lift, almost washed up in front of Stewart. So Tony Stewart will cycle to the lead. Terry Labonte will cycle in line behind Gordon in fourth and in front of... Can't really tell who's back there in fifth until we get to the line. But Stewart's not going to have the lead for much longer. Jimmy Johnson's in fifth. Dale Jr. sixth. Top four within 1.3 of the seconds of the lead. But Dale Labonte's going to take these fresh tires. This strategy, if it stays green to the end, I think this strategy is going to win Terry Labonte the race. His teammate Jeff Gordon's trying to block. Oh, and he just chopped down into Labonte. Terry was already underneath him in turns 3 and 4. I don't know if Gordon thought he was clear still. I mean, Labonte drove it in deep, but he stayed on the bottom, and how Gordon chops his nose off again. That time he was clear. And he'll get underneath Kenseth. Getting racy. Tell there's barely over 100 laps left. Labonte will get around Kenseth for third. Trying to get the run on Jeff Gordon. To the inside. Gordon trying to block again on his teammate Labonte. These guys have been racing hard with each other. That was the first time they made contact all day. Labonte with a slide job into 1 and 2. Had to lift on corner exit though. Gordon coming back up the inside. Labonte going to try to block now. Same move Gordon pulled on him. I guess Terry had the right to do it. But yeah, if they would have started that race at like even 1:30 yesterday, if it wasn't going to be finished, they would have gotten past halfway at least, and you know everybody could have seen a full race without a rain delay. Hindsight's always 20/20, but if you start the race earlier and it rains at 1:30, and you have to sit through a 5-hour rain delay there versus a 5-hour rain delay at 3:30, 4 o'clock. You're getting the race started back up by 6 again. You know, you're getting the race started up by 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock instead of 9, 9:30 like it was last night. Like, it's common sense to me. Like, could it rain from 1:30 to, 9 o'clock anyway? Yes. But it's less likely, and you have more of a window to get the race in if you start it earlier in the day than if you start it later. Like, it's not rocket science. And it's not NASCAR's fault either. It's Fox for holding NASCAR by the balls with their TV contracts. Cindric is not full-time Cup Series. He's running full-time Xfinity this year. He's only running, I believe, 5 races in the Cup Series this season, part-time for Penske. He'll be running full-time for the Wood Brothers in 2022, and then Matty D is going to have to find a ride. He could get a 4th Penske car, but I doubt it. It depends on what Matty D can do this year, honestly. If he goes out and wins a couple races, maybe that'll be the case. Or I looked at him, honestly, at going to 23-11. He was backed up with Toyota with Levine Family Racing the year before. He's good buddies with Denny Hamlin, who is a partial owner of 23-11. I see them go into a 2-car team, and at least a 2-car team in 2022, and I honestly think that's where Matty D is going to go. It's kind of what I'm speculating. Either that or a 4th Penske car. The only way he's going to a 4th Penske car, like I said, he's got to win a couple races and prove himself. Keselowski's into contract year 2, so, I mean, you could say he could go to the 2 car, but I doubt it. I think, although it seems like Keselowski and, you know, Penske as an organization kind of, it seems to me like they've been butting heads the last year and a half a little bit, especially Logano and Keselowski. It seems like whenever Keselowski's got a shot to win these plate races, Logano's the guy, you know, pulling the block, taking him out. You look at the clash last year, and Keselowski even called him out for it, and then you look at the 500 yesterday, which I already stated it wasn't necessarily Logano's fault entirely. I mean, it was just hard racing trying to win the 500, and he only made one move. It wasn't like he zigzagged across the track to block. Like, Keselowski went low, Logano went low, anticipating the block. You know, it's a racing deal. He just mistimed it. But again, final lap of the 500, and for Keselowski's sake, he didn't lift, but it's the last lap of the race. Not going to lift, and even if he lifted, McDowell's behind him pushing him. And McDowell's not going to lift because he's trying to win the race. So, yeah, it was a racing deal. But anyway, I mean, I just feel like those little things, I feel like Keselowski's getting frustrated where he's kind of caught, you know, he's at that fork at the end of the road, and he doesn't know what he wants in his future. If he wants to stay with Penske, he wants to because he's had a good relationship in the past with them. He won a championship in 2012. He's won a lot of, you know, crown jewels and great races, you know, in his career. But does he want to go with them going forward? And can they strike a deal money-wise that Keselowski would want because he's worth that driver? He's won 3 or 4 races the last handful of years, so it'll be interesting to see how that develops throughout the course of the season. But I would not be surprised if Keselowski is not in the 2 car next year, honestly. Especially if he has a down year, I don't see him in the 2 car next year. But if he has that consistent season like he's had the last handful of years, I think he'll be back in the 2. Because I don't really see any other competitive open rides that I could see him going to, at least with the Ford camp, which he's been with ever since Dodge was out of NASCAR with Penske. And obviously Dodges aren't around anymore, so I mean, he could go back to Chevy because that's where he started back when he was running with Junior in the Xfinity Series, but, you know, it's not going to be at Hendrick unless he takes over the 48. Bowman's in a contract year, but I think they want to hold on to Bowman. So, yeah, a lot of developing stories to keep an eye on throughout the course of the year with Keselowski. I think he's going to be the hottest free agent going into the offseason. Yeah, exactly. That's why it was a racing deal. I mean, Keselowski was just coming so fast. And he had to take the run. Even if Keselowski would have gotten out of the gas, like I said, he would have ran in the back of Logano anyway. Will Logano have been able to hold on to it? We'll never know. And McDowell was pushing Keselowski anyway, so if Brad got out of the gas, he might have gotten turned by McDowell. You know, you just never know how that's going to work out. Hindsight's 20/20, and, you know, I watched the replay many times, and I didn't see anything different from what I saw the first time, to be completely honest. It was a racing incident. It's racing incident, trying to win the biggest race of the year. A life-changing race, especially for Keselowski, who's never won it before. So you know he was going to go for it. I mean, you're going to go for it anyway, but he has more reason to go for it. Nearing 100 laps to go here today at Atlanta. Nearly a 5-second lead for Terry Labonte over teammate Jeff Gordon, followed by Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, and points leader Dale Earnhardt Jr. Pit stops have been going on, just starting at least, over the last couple laps for the rest of the field. The window to make it on 2 stops to the end for now is open. Can Labonte make it on 1 stop? He's only been able to go 56 laps, twice on a full run, 55 the last time, just to make sure he wasn't going to run out of fuel short again. I don't see him making it on 1 more stop. He might split that final run in half. Yeah, Roush definitely needs a big improvement. Newman ran well in the first 14 laps. He actually led early. And then, of course, being in the wrong place at the wrong time on that crash that he had nothing to do with. The 16 drivers that got involved in the crash, 14 of them had nothing to do with the accident. And the 2 guys, honestly, that probably did have to do with the accident weren't even involved in it. So I guess you could probably say all 16 of them had nothing to do with it. But it's pack racing. NASCAR, and that's pack racing altogether. It happens. We see it. It's not the first time, won't be the last. Just got to deal with it and move forward. Can't live in the past all the time. Yeah, I don't see Labonte being able to make it. He'll probably have to pit with about 70 laps left. And again, you'll probably see him split that final run in half, or he'll probably go fuel only and then run about 10 to 15 laps and then pit again. Could be a strategy as well. Or run it all the way to the finish and then just go fuel only at the end anyway. So if we stay green to the finish of this race, we've got some varied strategies that could play into effect. Now keep an eye on that interval between first and second, because Terry Labonte had a 10-second lead on Jeff Gordon before the last stop. If Gordon's got less than a 10-second disadvantage to Terry Labonte this time, then that means he actually gained time on Labonte's strategy. So that could be another factor of maybe causing Terry to short pit for tires at the end of the race as well, not giving Gordon an opportunity to catch him on a long green flag run to the finish. Strategy has won Labonte a couple races this year, and it's more than lost him a couple races this season as well. You look to Pocono being one of those races that won him the race. Had a little luck with a green-white checker as well, but the strategy put him in that position to win the race on that green-white checker. You look at Texas earlier this year with the strategy, did not pan out. Lowe's Motor Speedway, it did not plan out. Just 2 races ago. At Kansas, it worked out. You know, it's just, it comes and goes. Let's see Keselowski. I don't think Keselowski will go to RCR unless RCR shows big improvements like they did at the end of last year. And they would have to open up another car because they're not going to get rid of a young talent like Reddick and Austin Dillon. If he, you know, again, proves himself again this year, then that, and with obviously being Richard Childress' grandson, the combination of those two things, you know, I don't see Austin going. And I don't know if they've got the money to really expand to a 3-car operation, especially with the next gen car coming out immediately. So, you know, it'll be cost saving in the long run, but those first couple of years, not so much. And that's why you're going to see less entries, you know, say into the 500 and into other races because they won't have the chassis. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Keselowski does. If he's going to go away from Penske, you know, the only other Ford camp I can think of is Stuart Haas. Harvick signed at least through, 2022, so he'll be racing next year. You know, how many years does Eric Almirola have left? Look at Kurt Busch in the 1 car. You know, if this is his last season, maybe Keselowski goes there. It's still a downgrade from Penske, but it's decent equipment. It's, I'd say, more proven than RCR, but similar level. More proven in recent years, I should say, than RCR. And we've seen Kurt Busch run consistently in the top 10 with that equipment. I mean, he's been top 10 average finish in the last 2 years with that equipment. He's won 1 race. I think Brad's a little bit better of a driver at this point of his career versus this point of Kurt Busch's career. So I think he can get that car to 2 or 3 wins. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see where he goes. Maybe Larson doesn't get sponsorship for the following season. And, you know, they say, all right, Kyle, you're not bringing in the sponsors. I can't fund you out of pocket as much as I did last year. Bye. And Keselowski's in the 5 car. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's a wild thing to say. But we don't know what that's going to, you know, be like a year from now. It's fun to speculate and think about. But honestly, even this early in the season, we're not going to have any clue who's going to be in what car 12 months from now, you know? It'll transpire slowly throughout the course of the season. Usually don't see silly season moves until about like halfway through the year, when you really get a good feel of how the drivers are doing that season before you start looking into contracts, you know, going forward during a contract year. Bonnie halfway on fuel right now. They'll be coming to 95 laps to go this time by. Gordon's 11 seconds off the lead, so he has lost a little time. So Labonte is gaining time with this strategy. That's good. Pushing the 97. Now Benson's on fresher tires. Drove around Terry Labonte. But now, Terry's just kind of holding right in there with him.
Number 10 is outside. You're clear.
Labonte trying to drive to the inside, but Johnny beat him in the corner on the outside. Now Kurt Busch on those fresher tires. Starting to come from behind as well. Okay, it's been a pretty good race so far tonight. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. Again, hit that like button if you haven't already. Helps get these streams and videos I make upload, or not uploaded, but recommended under other related NASCAR content on YouTube and get the new subscribers. And again, you guys have done great with that lately. I'm going to have to contact YouTube. My Daytona 500 NASCAR 05 live stream from yesterday had 19 likes at the end of the stream, and now it's showing I only had 3. And I'm a little upset because, again, that helps with the algorithm. But for whatever reason, you know, they took away like 16 or 17 likes. I don't know. We had a lot of people watching throughout the course of the race, so I know it wasn't like it was like fake accounts, you know, or something like that it might have taken away. Ooh, Kurt Busch brushed the wall off turn 2 after getting around Labonte on his pressure tires. Kurt almost ran into the back of the lap car coming to pit road, too. Benson trying to get back around Labonte a second time off turn 4. Terry going to let him go. Wow, aggressive block by Benson, even though Labonte didn't have a run. Almirola seems a little underwhelming. Yeah, I mean, you never know. It'd be a good move for Haas to put Keselowski in over Almirola, although I'll feel bad for Almirola, but I mean, if he doesn't win a race this year, that'll be 2 straight seasons of, you know, going winless, and he only won 1 race the first year at Talladega with, you know what I mean, one win in 3 years in Stewart-Haas Racing Equipment when he had Harvick win 9 races last year. The good thing that Almirola's got going for him is he's close. He had that streak of 6 straight top 5s last season. He had a career high in top 10s last year, so he still had a good year, even though, you know, he didn't win a race and he was eliminated in the round of 16. I think you kind of look at it like Blaney, you know, last year, although Blaney had a down season compared to the year before, the 2 years before, but Blaney still finished 9th in points. You know, he still had a top 10 points run. Even though he was eliminated in the round of 16. It was a down year for Blaney, but it wasn't like a down year overall. He still finished top 10 in points the last 3 years. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It's all going to depend on sponsorship with Almirola, too. If Smithfield pulls, then I think you got to get rid of him if a guy like Keselowski's going to be out there, and Tony will give the money to Brad, trust me. I feel like he likes a driver like Keselowski. I feel like Tony and Brad would get along well together.
Number 99 is right behind you.
2 very outspoken drivers, very controversial but outspoken. Sometimes in the wrong way, sometimes in the right way, and that's why, you know, Brad has haters, or at least used to, not as much as what he used to. He's kind of grown into his own now, but I feel like Tony Stewart's kind of that same way. Yeah, Dylan had his best year last year. Yeah, we'll see. See if he can improve on that, or, you know, at least win another race this year to show that he could still do it. It's just it's one of those things, like, what does Richard Childress want in the future, you know? Because if Austin Dillon's going to win 1 race every year and, you know, not really contend for a championship, but finish, like, right around 10th in points, win 1 race every year, it's not like it's like that top-tier team like a Hendrick or a Haas or a Penske, you know what I mean, or a Gibbs. It's not that kind of top-tier team. It's like a B-level team. So you're not really, looking to contend this year, but how many years down the line are you looking to contend for a championship? Because if you're looking to contend for a championship like now, then I don't think Austin Dillon's the guy. But in the long run, I think Austin could be a good mentor for a guy like Tyler Reddick. Even though he hasn't been in the Cup Series all that long, Austin is a veteran driver. He knows the ins and outs, and he has won races, consistently each year. But he's just not consistent from start of the year to the end of the year. But he's off to a good start this year. You never know. We'll see. He had a really solid speed weeks again. Won a duel, finished third in the 500. You can't do much better than that. So again, Labonte a lap ahead of the field if you're just tuning in due to the pit strategy. He still has to pit 2 more times to the end of the race. It looks like everybody else has to pit once. It'll be interesting to see how many laps Terry Labonte's going to lead because of this. If he wins this race and leads the most laps, the strategy could not have played out any more perfect for Labonte. And obviously it all really came down to how quick he got through the traffic. Yeah, he had the fresh tires, but that stack up off turn 4 on the restart allowed him in less than a lap and a half to go from 21st to 4th. So he had to cut through the grass to miss everybody, but hey, it's not like these cars sit as low as the cars nowadays, so the grass didn't take him out. He was sliding through there pretty good, but he got back on the track, and it didn't tear up the race car. Ooh, boy. Bonnie got tight into turn 1. Up behind the 99 of Burton, his car got tight and almost got into Dale Jarrett. Lifted pretty heavily to make sure Dale was not going to get sideswiped that time. Good clean drive by Terry Labonte today. On top of the strategy, putting him in this situation. Yeah, Roush wants his team back in the championship hunt. I think Greg Biffle said it best last night. I was watching, I don't know if you guys happened to see it at all, but during the rain delay was the only time I was watching the Daytona 500 watch-along on YouTube. They had Matt Kenseth, Haley Deegan, and Greg Biffle on there. And they asked Biffle and Kenseth, what does Roush need to do to be competitive again? To contend for championships again. And I know I'm a Greg Biffle fan, but I think he said it best. It's not the equipment that wins championships. It's the people that surround the organization that wins championships, the personnel. And he's not saying it's necessarily the driver all the time either, because Newman, showed that a couple years ago. Obviously, I don't think he's the same driver since his bad crash at Daytona, but before that, he made the playoffs in Roush Fenway equipment, so they do have some sort of speed, with the driver. They just need the personnel, whether it's in the engine department, the fabrication department with the chassis, just getting everything tuned in right leading up to a race weekend. I think Chris Buescher is a talented driver too. I think he's got a ceiling and is capable of winning races in that equipment if the equipment is fast enough. And they're not like RCR or Chip Ganassi where they're that B-level team. They're more of a C-level team now, unfortunately, which me growing up as a Roush fan, it does kind of hurt watching that team struggle, but Biffle said it best. Like I said, I should say like he said, it's the people that surround the organization. It's things obviously have not been working for him even since Biffle's last couple of years in the Cup Series, and obviously Biffle was getting older too, which played into that, but, from about 2014 on, Roush has not been the same outside of when Stenhouse won, the 2 super speedways, but again, those were super speedways in 2017. Yeah, they have not been the same since about 2014, so they've got to change personnel, and if they haven't changed personnel at all in the last 6 to 7 years since they've been on their downfall, what's Jack Roush doing, I get it's a family, and if you're working with those guys for so long, but obviously things have to, unfortunately, change. And that's the tough part about owning a race team, and I've never owned a race team before, so I wouldn't know the ins and outs of it, but obviously, they could be, you never know, they could be 2 or 3 personnel changes in the race shop on a weekly basis to being back to where they were 10, 15 years ago. It could be something that little, you never know. And it's not necessarily the equipment itself, because all the Roush guys have the same engines as what Haas has, and the same engines as what Penske has. They have those Roush Yates engines. So something else, with the personnel has got to be wrong, that they're not performing well on the racetrack on any given Sunday like they were, again, 10, 15 years ago. Ross Chastain could contend for wins. I'm filling in for Newman. Yeah, I mean, he could, but I think Ganassi would want to keep him, especially if Chastain has a good season. He's off to a good start. Finished 7th in the Daytona 500. If he continues to run well, then should be pretty good to stay with them. Especially if Kurt Busch is going to be going. They're going to need to fill at least one extra spot as it is, so they're not going to want to get rid of Chastain that way. Maybe see DiBenedetto going to Ganassi, I don't know. That's not impossible, too. That'd be a good spot for him if Kurt Busch retires. Heck, I think Kurt Busch would actually talk to Chip and say, hey, get Matty D in the car. Kind of like what Menard did when he left Wood Brothers. Hey, get Matty D in the car. Kurt could do the same thing. I think Kurt would be that guy to do that. So I guess that could be a spot for him, too. But, yeah, they would want to keep Ross, I would have to imagine. You got to give... I've always been like this. No matter how bad a first season is, in competitive equipment even, you have to give the guy more than 1 year. And that was one thing with Suarez that I didn't like. Yeah, Gibbs gave him, 2 years. But Haas only gave him 1 year. You know what I mean? It's like, I know he's missed the playoffs in competitive equipment 3 years, but it's his first year with a new team. Was it underwhelming? Yes. But he was closer to making the playoffs then than what he was with Gibbs, so it was kind of a very, 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 very small step up, but it was a step up. Give the guy 1 more year, and unfortunately it didn't work, but hopefully things work out with Trackhouse with him in the long term if they're looking long term. It could be fun, but that's another talk for another day. Pit stop's coming up in a couple laps, at least for Terry Labonte. We'll have 70 laps to go this time by. So Labonte leads the Georgia 500 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Go a couple laps on fuel. It's been a nice clean race for Labonte so far. Oh, yeah, I can see him contending for wins, too. I think he'll contend for more than what Kenseth did last year. Really, Kenseth only contended for 1 win, and that was at Indy on the Oval last summer. I think Chastain could contend for wins on super speedways. We've seen him run well on the super speedways in Colleague racing, in the Xfinity Series. But I think there's some intermediate tracks he could probably, surprise on as well, too. Look at a track like Kansas where he's had success in the lower series, a track like that. He's had success at Chicagoland, Kentucky, too, but in the lower series, but unfortunately they don't race there anymore. Or at least not this year. So Terry Labonte coming to pit road this time. It'll be a 4-tire pit stop. And it will get him about 14 laps outside the window, so he can't make it on fuel to the end. He was caught for speeding by 1 mile per hour earlier in the race, but that time, a perfect job not speeding. Oh, Gibbs holds on to Bell. They'll give him at least 2 years, and see what he's got this year, first year with that new team. So even if he doesn't make the playoffs this year, he'll still be with them next year, I think. Especially after getting rid of Eric Jones, letting him walk. That means they have a lot of faith in Bell. So he'll be with them next year, I'm sure. But no mistakes on the pit stop for Terry Labonte and his crew. He'll work his way back out onto the racetrack as they get up to speed. Oh, wow, 3 wide there. Jeff Green split in the middle. Here comes Matt Kenseth, who is in second, and Terry Labonte barely going to hold on to the race lead here And he's got the fresher tires. Still trying to get up to speed, though. Kenseth might have a shot into turn 1 still. Jeff Gordon not far behind him. With less than 70 laps to go, Labonte holds on to the lead here at Atlanta Motor Speedway in a race which it's probably his to lose with this strategy. We could see a late race caution. We've seen one already today. Well, it's a 500-mile race, so I guess only one caution so far today. And we've seen a lot of races with few cautions this year. Again, if we go caution-free the rest of this race, this will be the 11th race this season in which we've seen one or less cautions. It's been that kind of a season. 3 of them have gone caution-free. And this could be the 8th to only have 1 caution this year. Both Richmond races. A couple of races we DNF'd in early where we only had that as a caution. And then on a track like Michigan and a few other tracks mixed in there as well. Oh boy. Bonnie barely cleared Brett Bodine there, squeezing desperately in between him, and man, he barely cleared him on the bottom too. Oh, a little contact, kind of overdrove the corner trying to get in front of Brett Bodine. He slid right into Hermie Sadler on his outside. Going to alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race here today. It's kind of a good thing we've only had 1 caution to get this 500-mile race done as soon as possible, because these races are obviously the longer ones, the ones that take 3+ hours on the channel, so it's nice to know we've got a pretty good race pace. Pretty interesting to see if any of these guys short pit to the end. At least we know Labonte doesn't really have to short pit because he cycled to the lead there. But then again, I mean, guys will pit as soon as that window opens. It's going to be dependent on which drivers will do that. It'll definitely be risky if we get a caution. But guys that aren't contending for the championship that are running closer to the front, honestly, there really isn't a lot. A lot of the championship contenders are the guys running in front right now. Definitely be the difference maker. Yeah, Kenseth's a big Roush guy. He's there the majority of his career where he won his 1 Cup title. Rookie of the Year as well, back in 2000. Just going to get underneath Elliott Sadler right there. Almost overdrove it into turn 1, but he does clear Sadler cleanly. Be interesting to see how many spots in the point standings Labonte can gain with a win today. Again, it's got to be close on whether or not he's going to lead the most laps or not, but I think the way this is playing out, and especially not even losing the lead at all, that last cycling through stops, and even the time before that, he only lost the lead for about 7 laps to Tony Stewart. Again, this is Labonte's race to lose here today. Just got to hope for good fortune. Hope it stays green to the end. He should have it. Can't speed on pit road next time like he did earlier. Caution kind of bailed him out in a sense because he wasn't 7th when that caution did fly earlier. There's Ricky Craven after being involved in that accident with $1 Million Bill Elliott earlier. Tell you what, I'm starting to sweat. It's been a while since I've actually really sweated in one of these races. It's been, well, I guess we just did a 500-mile race yesterday at Daytona, but it's not even like this is super intense either. I mean, Labonte's basically just been driving out there pretty good. It's probably because I haven't drinking enough water today. Being trapped inside, not doing a lot, even being snowed in. I'm barely even drinking my water during the stream, too, so I'll definitely make sure to drink more under the next stop. Always stay hydrated. I don't even know if you guys can even see me sweating at all. It's not like it's profuse. Jeff Gordon up to second place. Dale Jr. not in the top 5 right now. Somebody just coming off pit road. I think we're starting to see some guys short pit now to the end of the race as well. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. Got to watch the 500 last night. Nice. The rain delay help you be able to watch it, or even if it wasn't as exciting of a 500 as anticipated, and especially with this package, but it happens from time to time, and there were still some good moments throughout the course of the race. Especially me usually being a positive Pete, I try to highlight those, bright points. The stage ends and the finish was pretty good. Kind of got ugly at the race finish, but it's the only thing I would change about it. But as far as that goes, you kind of expected the train racing to happen again. The way that first crash came out, everybody was just hesitant. Especially what happened in the Daytona 500 last year with the crash of Ryan Newman. I'm sure that played into effect too with the drivers. Okay, hang on. You don't want that to happen again, even though they end up having a bad crash at the end of the race anyway. But, I'm sure that might have put something into there. Yeah, there was a watch along last night on YouTube. Kind of talked about that briefly today. They might have had the in-car cams on YouTube too. I know they've done that the last couple years with the Crown Jewel races usually. Obviously the Daytona 500 would be one of those. Stay getting into turn 3 for Terry Labonte that time. $50 laps to go here today at Atlanta. I'm Junior right back in the top 5 again. I think Matt Kenseth short pitted. Interesting strategy for Kenseth in third place, short pitting here. He was only a couple seconds off the lead. That's going to be interesting here for Terry Labonte too. Does that make him short pit now that he only had about a 3-second advantage on Kenseth instead of about a 10 or 11 second lead like he had the last couple times? Yeah, I think, now that I think about it, I think they had Denny Hamlin's in car camera. Multiple cams, obviously. Yeah, Kyle Busch definitely had a hard hit. Him and Brad both. I was kind of worried about there a little bit because obviously Brad was the guy that got T-boned. His car ended up in the fence in turn 3. The rear of the car ended up in the catch fence. I mean, that thing was torn apart. But yeah, and then the fireball. Kyle Busch, but he wasn't even the only one. Like Austin Cindric took a big hit in that too. There were like 3 cars consecutively there, 3 or 4 cars consecutively. They just all went into flames all at once. Definitely an ugly crash, that's for sure. And obviously, you know, knowing Kyle Busch has been in a hard crash at Daytona before, you know, he broke his leg back in 2015. His leg on one of his foot, or his leg on his one leg, and then I think he broke his ankle on the opposite leg too. Couldn't imagine that, man. I was on crutches after a broken ankle for like 3 to 4 months. I couldn't imagine being in a wheelchair for like 6 to 9 months. But I guess he had somewhat of a speedy recovery. It was probably 4 to 6 months he was in a wheelchair. But still, I mean, can't be on crutches. So Terry Labonte has just clinched the most laps led at the start-finish line that last time. So that will give him 10 bonus points for the day. I think it's going to be a battle between Terry Labonte and Matt Kenseth to the end. When does Terry Labonte pit? Kenseth's already short-pitted on him and will likely take the lead. The longer Labonte waits, the further he's going to fall back, but the fresher the tires are going to be when he comes off pit road. But I don't think he can take this run all the way to the end and have it play out. I think he's going to have to pit in the next 10 to 20 laps. And obviously pit for tires as well. With Kenseth from third short pitting, again, only about 3 seconds off the lead when he did it. There he is, got 3. Yeah, I think your 3 to 6 is outmatched by my 10 to 14 inches of snow. From the start of the morning today into tomorrow morning, we're supposed to get 10 to 14 total. I'm supposed to work tomorrow, but if we're under, like, what we call level 3, then we're not supposed to go into work, which we haven't had in a while, but we haven't had that much snowfall in, like, a 24-hour span in a long time, too, so. Bam, Labonte sliding all the way through 3 and 4. That might have been a good time to actually pit. Oh, sliding pretty bad. Took that apron just a little too much. Was on that painted white line in the middle of the corner for the longest time. Broken right leg and left foot. Gotcha, foot. But yeah, I mean, wheelchair bound for sure. Look at the smoke from Labonte's car from the lap before. Steve Bart's been trying to get around him too recently. So when Labonte came back out on the racetrack, he had 71 laps to go. I think it's probably going to be in his best bet to cut this run in half and take this run about 35 to 36 laps and then pit is probably going to be the strategy here. So I think at lap 295, that's going to be the time for Terry Labonte to hit pit road and likely, again, lose the lead to Kenseth, but he'll try to run him back down those last 35 laps. He shouldn't be more than a couple seconds behind him. And then by that time, again, he'll have 10 to 15 lap fresher tires. They'll be running him down. Actually, by that time, it'll probably be a little more. Probably more like 20 to 25 lap fresher tires. Kenseth pitted right at about 55, 60 to go. Steve Park finally gets underneath of Labonte off turn 4. Terry just trying to keep this race clean to the end for himself. Yeah, I mean, you got to figure, too, though. I live on I live probably about 45 minutes away from Lake Erie, so it's... Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! Hang on, contact into turn 1. Lap car of Ashton Lewis and the race leader Terry Labonte get together. Anyway, what I was going to say was that sometimes we get that, like, lake effect snow. Not as bad as what we would if we were on the lake, like Cleveland or... I guess, well, you guys probably don't know of Sandusky. Well, you might know of Sandusky, Ohio. Cedar Point, home of Cedar Point Amusement Park. Only the best amusement park in the United States of America. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. The only one. It's not like a Six Flags where there's a couple of them, you know, spaced apart. It's one of a kind. Only in Sandusky, Ohio, well, 50 minutes from where I live. Yet I've only been there 3 times, but a lot of other kids around, like where we live, are spoiled. They go there like once every summer, and I've been there 3 times my whole life. But only live 45, 50 minutes away. But that's because I was always going to the sprint car track every summer when I was younger, racing myself, you know, go-karts between those 2 things. And now going to NASCAR races a lot, so, you know, that's what I filled my summer months with, is racing, not amusement park. But maybe I'll try to fit it in once next year if things start to go back to normal with COVID. 5 more laps away from Labonte hitting pit road. Dale Jr. still out on the racetrack. Kenseth's up to 3rd, so only Dale Jr. and Terry Labonte on the lead lap have to pit. Wow, Terry got really tight. He got close behind Steve Park and took the air off the nose of his race car. I've seen that a couple times today with not only him but other drivers. It's just a factor of racing in general, especially on these fast ovals. Wind chill advisory tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is supposed to be tomorrow. I just know we're supposed to get all the snow between when it started today. Like, I shoveled at like 1 o'clock this afternoon. And when my dad got home at like 5 o'clock, and like everything was like covered again. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, well, at least you got the first batch out of the way. So if I don't work tomorrow, if I do get snowed in, then I'll definitely be out there for a couple hours in the morning again. I'm like in that bind where it's like I'd rather work because I'd get paid, but I'm not going to drive over an hour just to, you know, because of the snow. It'd be over an hour just to get to work in dangerous way. You know what I mean? They're obviously this place is understanding. That's the nice thing about this place. Best job I've had so far. They're actually understanding of your life outside of work. I've never had a job that's like that before. Never thought there was one for the longest time. Another reason why I'm trying to chase this, you know, dream of being a NASCAR broadcaster, because I don't want to do this the rest of my life. But, you know, if I could be doing something NASCAR related, oh, I'd be so much happier. I'm usually generally positive anyway, but golf every day and do something NASCAR related, oh my gosh, that'd be a blessing. It'd be like retirement, but I'm still getting paid for work that I like. This job's not too bad, but you know, it's one of those things, you know, if I'm there for a couple of years, it'll obviously get old eventually, but it's not something I want to do for a career. Warehouse distribution work. All right, enough of that. Terry Labonte will be coming to pit road this time. Took it actually a little bit further. If he would have pitted right around lap 290, then 295, that would have actually been splitting it in half. So he went a little bit past halfway through the run, locking it down, making sure he doesn't speed. That was close, but he did not speed. 4 fresh tires, full tank of fuel, no adjustments for Terry Labonte. This is the money stop for his team. Can they get back in the lead, or will it be Matt Kenseth cycling through as the leader? Junior cycled outside the top 5, but he was 20 seconds behind where Labonte was when he was on the track. And again, just one caution today, just prior to the halfway point, for Bill Elliott spinning off turn 4 and Ricky Craven piling into the back of him. No mistakes by Labonte's crew all day long. 18.341 on that stop. I'm going to pause it for a quick second, and we're going to get the good luck charm with that Greg Biffle Cheez-It hat before we actually get to the finish of this one. Just in case, you know, I want to have that good luck charm. It's a good thing I had that hat on. There we go. It's a good thing I had that hat on standby. Do you know Kent Squire is mostly wheelchair bound after? Yeah, I heard about that, man. That's sad. Obviously, him being older definitely hit him, really hard. Really unfortunate to see. All right, back into the race. This is what you guys were anticipating. Inside Uranus, welcome to the stream. So Labonte off of pit road. Will he remain the leader when he gets up? Nope, Matt Kenseth's going to get the lead. There he goes, Kenseth to the lead. Labonte, second. Well, here we go. Labonte going to try to run down Kenseth. 29 laps to go this time by. Cheez-It hat with the Cheez-It car on the line for Terry Labonte here today, and we'll alternate through the different camera angles one final time over the next dozen laps, leading you into what could be a great battle for the win. Oh man, Labonte got tight there. Overdrove the corner a little bit in turns 1 and 2. He's got time to catch Kenseth, and he's got about 20 lap fresher tires, but we'll see. And those first 20 laps of the 30 to the end of the race from when he came out of the pits will be more important. Well, he's got that advantage because these tires will even out over time. It's about just less than 2.5 seconds off the lead. A couple other Hendrick Chevrolets inside the top 5 of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. Great run for Johnson. Hasn't led yet today, but started 41st and has gotten as high as 3rd in today's race. And not only that, only one caution all day. So for Jimmy to charge through the field with only one yellow, that is really impressive. 1/10 of a second faster that last lap for Terry Labonte. Kenseth's running some really good lap times right now. He's trying to pull this off, but it looked like Labonte had the race won with his strategy. Maybe he stayed out a little too long. Thought about pitting 5 laps before, but he didn't. We'll be at lap 300 this time by. Could have another one of those classic Atlanta finishes. Saw a lot of those in the late 90s and early 2000s. This is a 2003 season. Haven't really had one of those on the channel before, that I can recall at least. And especially with this game playthrough, it doesn't seem like we really come down to the wire at this track, or the 500 mile, mile and a half races anyway. It doesn't seem like it comes down to the wire, but this one very well could. 1.7, wow. Labonte was about 0.3 of a second quicker that last lap. But now he's trying to get around the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield, so he might not be as fast this lap. It was about 2 lap cars not far in front of Matt Kenseth right now as well. Labonte gets around Mayfield. Going to try to get around the 22 of Ward Burton. Oh, Labonte clipped the grass on the front stretch. Gets a little sideways and a little bit of contact with Ward Burton along the way, but clears him into turn 1. Still clear of Ward off turn 2. Even with that contact, 0.2 of a second faster that last lap. For the man in second place, Terry Labonte. Trying to run down the actual 2003 champion, Matt Kenseth. Kenseth still sitting top 6 in the point standings into today's race. A win would go a long way into keeping his title hopes alive, as well as Labonte, who came in 10th. Problem is Dale Jr. likely still in the top 10 today. Less than a second off the lead. Kenseth's being held up in lap traffic. Kenseth 3 wide and in the middle in turns 1 and 2 to get around the lap cars of Stanton Barrett and Ashton Lewis. And Labonte is on the hard charge. Oh, man, he really messed that corner up getting into turn 3. To the inside of Ashton Lewis. Kenseth actually a little bit quicker that last lap after not only Labonte caught Ashton Lewis, but made that mistake getting into turn 3. Stanton Barrett trying to crowd the 5 Labonte down the backstretch. But Labonte clears Barrett into 3. No lap cars between the top 2. Yeah, I'm definitely pumped for the next NASCAR game. I was actually looking at my analytics, which were at its highest when NASCAR Heat 5 came out. Those first 2 months after it released, I gained over 300 subscribers in a 2-month stretch, which is amazing for the two. That was like the boom period. So I definitely can't wait for the next NASCAR game to come out. Just want to have to be on my peak performance with these realistic broadcasts is right there, because it's when we're going to get the most people watching. So Labonte still trying to run Kenseth down. He's a little bit quicker than Kenseth, but Kenseth, I'm sure, is going to be blocking. Jeff Gordon in 3rd. Johnson's actually falling back this run. Newman's up to 4th, and Tony Stewart rounds out the top 5. Kenseth has only led a few laps today up until he took the lead after cycling through the pit stop. Short pitting for Kenseth has worked. Oh, Labonte got really tight in the dirty air behind the lap cars and behind the 17. He almost ended up in the wall. Johnny Benson just about hit the wall and almost smacked right into David Green on his inside. And they're right in front of Terry Labonte. Nowhere for Terry to go. David Green is in Labonte's way going into turn 3. Benson still on the... and take you to the finish. Bonnie drives it in deep in 3 and 4. Good run on Matt Kenseth down the back straightaway. Trying to get whatever draft off them he can. Kenseth trying to go to the inside and break the draft. Labonte all over Kenseth's back bumper. Kenseth gets tight. Opens up the bottom. Labonte tries to get in there, but then he pushes tight. Kenseth holds on to the lead. Kenseth had a great drive off turn 4. These guys get to battle, and again, Gordon's less than 2.5 seconds off the lead. Kenseth's going to make this car wide to the finish. He's won 3 races this year, looking for his 4th. Labonte looking for his 11th, all the way down to the inside. He's on the apron down the backstretch into 3. Kenseth gave him room in the center of the corner, but not a lot down the straightaway. Awkward angle in. Kenseth might get the run off 4 again. Labonte slides sideways off of 4. These guys are driving it hard. 15 laps to go at Atlanta with the race on the line. Drove it in deep to the back of Kenseth, but Kenseth holds the bottom beautifully. And again, Labonte to the inside. This time, Kenseth can't crowd him. Labonte is there into turn 3. And clear. But Labonte overdrives the corner. Slide job worked for a split second. Kenseth with the crossover and again holds on to the lead. 14 to go at Atlanta. Man, Labonte just gets tight when he gets in line behind Kenseth. And that car just shoves. These guys better be careful not to use their tires up too much if Jeff Gordon gets in there. The problem is Labonte's got fresher tires than Kenseth, so Kenseth will be the first of these two to use their tires up. How is Labonte going to get around Kenseth? Gordon now 2 seconds off the lead. He's gained 1/10 of a second in each of the last 4 laps. Kenseth trying to crowd again. Labonte trying to just get away from him. Into turn 3. Labonte clear off turn 4. This time he'll lead at the start-finish line. 12 laps to go. Terry Labonte back out in front. Lap car of Hermie Sadler right in front of him. Labonte going to try to make quick work. Gordon 2 seconds off the lead still. And look at Hermie Sadler blocking Labonte to the outside. What is he doing? Not letting these leaders race it out. Well, at least not for the short moment. Bonnie's going to get under him and pass him into 3 and 4 anyway. 2 more lap cars ahead of Labonte, and I think those will probably be the last 2 cars. Oh, Sadler in the wall. Hermie Sadler in the wall off turn 4. 11 to go. The only other question now is will we stay green to the end of the race? Because Labonte, it might be back to his race to lose once again. Kind of like we were talking about the second half of the race. His strategy played perfectly into Labonte's favor. Pitting under the caution so he can have that tire advantage on the longer runs, and we never had another caution. It played perfectly. At least up to this point. Again, the race isn't over yet. Still 10 laps to go. Labonte wants to race to the end as soon as he can. So he's not going to give up driving this car hard. He might be patient to get around these 2 lap cars ahead of him. Kenseth's still trying to get around Hermie Sadler back there, but the lap cars in front of, I believe, Jerry Nadeau. Yeah, Jerry Nadeau and Christian Fittipaldi are side by side right in front of Labonte. Bottom's open to get underneath Fittipaldi. Nadeau, oh man, he almost slammed right into Labonte. Labonte gets around him pretty easily, clears him into turn 1, so here we go. What a race. Despite only 1 caution, this thing has been pretty good. And it definitely flew by with just the 1 yellow. For a 500-mile race, it flew by about as good as it probably could have. I'm curious to see what the average speed is at the end of this thing. Oh, man. A little bit of an overdrive. Labonte got back in the gas a little too soon off turn 4. 1.4 back to Kenseth at the line. 7 to go. Sorry, 8 to go. Once we get to 4 laps left, caution comes out. The race is over once they race back to the caution flag. So the last thing Labonte wants is a green-white checker. Labonte's getting really tight off turn 4 now. This is going to be the shortest tire stint he's going to have to the end of the race of only 30 laps. Because even when we had that caution in the middle of the run earlier, it was 35, and then he ran about 35, actually 36 laps to be exact, on the last run before short pitting to the end of the race. And it's a good thing he did that, because Kenseth would have had a much bigger than a 2.5 second lead, though Labonte would have had fresher tires. So I guess it could have been a battle still. Labonte would have had to pit with about 14 to go at the latest. But he might have been 7 or 8 seconds off the lead trying to run Kenseth down a second a lap or something like that, which he could have with about 40, 50 lap fresher tires. It wouldn't have been impossible, but I think that was a good call for him to pit when he did, and obviously a good call pitting when he did under the caution earlier when nobody else did. And again, strategy, I'd say 3 for 2 this year for Labonte, and strategy winning him the race versus losing him the race. And this is another one of those wins. Dale Jr. still not the top 5. He pitted only a couple laps before Terry Labonte, so he's probably got a little bit fresher tires at the end too, trying to gain every spot he can. I'm sure he's running ahead of Mark Martin at least, who he's racing for the championship, as well as a couple others. Again, top 4 came into today's race with a shot to mathematically take the points lead at the end of the day, but Jr. still had a 97-point lead over second place Mark Martin. 4 laps to go at Atlanta for Terry Labonte. This 1.5-mile D-shaped oval. It'll be a max points day for Labonte. We'll see how many spots in the standings he'll gain and how many points he'll gain on Dale Jr., which again probably won't be much because Jr. did get 5 bonus points. He led a lot of laps early. He probably led over 100 laps himself today. I know Terry has led the most, mainly because of the strategy, but still. 3 to go. Yeah, caution comes out now. This race is over as long as Labonte can escape the carnage, racing back to the caution flag, of course.
Fuel tank ought to be about half empty.
I'm sure it'll be on PS5 and PS4. the next NASCAR game if I had to guess. Because PS5 hasn't even been out a year by the time, the next game comes out. Man, Kyle Petty did not give Labonte a lot of room. Terry definitely drove it in deep, but lap car kind of pinched him down there. So I guess he did catch Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace to the end. But that should be it for the lap traffic, as Labonte will be coming to the white flag this time. 1 lap to go. This will be Terry Labonte's 11th win of the season. Jeff Gordon trying to finish second to make it a 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports. Gordon's been pretty much in the top 3 all day, as he was able to get around Kenseth late. Kenseth back to third now. Half a mile to go. Well, by a couple seconds, all the margin. Terry Labonte wins at Atlanta in the Georgia 500. His 11th win of the season. Just trying to do whatever he can to keep his championship hopes alive late in the season. And today, pretty solid race for him. And he's going to make sure he burns this down. Remember, any one of these wins could be Terry Labonte's final career win. His actual final career win came in the Southern 500 right here in 2003. We're already beyond that point this season. So every win growing. And he'll still be in next year's game in 2005. But after that, he's not going to be in competitive equipment at least anymore in the 5 car. So he might not have too many shots left. So we're going to try to get him as many as we can on his way out the door. And he's going to blow that engine in the victory celebration today. He earned it. Only the second win on a 1.5 miles this season for Terry Labonte, but there he is in victory lane, or at least pulling his way that direction. Yeah, I did see that. Rusty Walrus was on the back of the car, too. So congrats for him. BJ was in second at one point in the 500 under caution, too. So, hey, he actually got to... I don't think he led a lap, but he was up towards the front at one point. Had a decent finish. We'll take a look at the finishing results. Looks like Dale Jr. finished 9th as the points leader here. 164 laps led from the 11th starting spot for Terry Labonte. A 1-2 finish for Jeff Gordon finishing second, and for Hendrick Motorsports. 17 lead changes today despite only 1 caution on a 1.5 miles and in a 500-mile race. We got 500 miles in just 2 hours and 55 minutes with 171 mile per hour average speed on a 1.5 miles. That is ridiculous, but again, just the 1 yellow caused for that. And again, Gordon got 5 bonus points, for leading just 1 lap. I thought he might have led more than that, but I guess he only led 1. He was in the top 3 basically all day, too. Matt Kenseth led 58 laps. He had a good day, finished 3rd. Tony Stewart 4th, led 9 laps. Ryan Newman, he also led 1 lap, finished 5th. Stewart 4th, by the way. Bobby Labonte 6th. He ran top 10 all day. Jimmy Johnson started 41st, biggest mover of the race, finishing 7th. Was up as high as 3rd. Michael Waltrip finished in 8th. He led 1 lap. Dale Jr. led 91 laps, a lot of those in the first 100 to 150 before that first caution. Finishes 9th after starting on the pole, and Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10. Didn't lead a lap, but was in the top 10 all day pretty much. Faded late, though, because he was as high as 2nd at one point. Take a look at who all DNF'd. Actually, first, we had 14 drivers finish on the lead lap. And Joe Nemechek, we saw him blow an engine early. We also saw Kenny Schrader blow an engine early. Kevin Harvick blew an engine. Didn't see that. Rusty Walls blew an engine. We had 4 engine failures in the first 35 laps. I only saw 2 of them. We saw Bill Elliott crash out. He was in that one lone accident with Ricky Craven. Craven still went on to finish the race. Sterling Marlin, we saw him blow an engine. Robbie Gordon ended up blowing an engine. Casey Mears, Brett Bodine both blew engines. Sprague was the last car to finish. So in the last 500-mile race at Lowe's Motor Speedway, we had 13 DNFs, and here in today's race, we had 9 DNFs. So yeah, these 500-mile races, man, they are very hard on the engines, especially with the amount of horsepower these Gen 4 cars have. Jonathan Rogers, welcome right at the end. Popped in at the end. Yep, we did win this race. Just 3 races to go on the full race live stream NASCAR Thunder 2004 playthrough. We'll be back at it with NASCAR Thunder 04 tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be racing at Phoenix Raceway for the Checker Auto Parts 500. 500 kilometers, might I add, with that race around the, at this time, 1.25 mile Phoenix Raceway. Of course, with the reconfiguration, it is now 1 mile in length. This was 1.25 mile in length at this point in time, but pretty similar in lap times as well. No dogleg to cut through on this racetrack. Dale Jr. grows his points lead out even more, and Jeff Gordon is now up to second in points, getting around Mark Martin. The top 4 still within 1 race of points, all within 118, so it is still a shot, very good shot within those 4 drivers, but Dale Jr., the clear favorite, with a 109-point lead. He came in 97 points ahead of Mark Martin. Although Gordon gained on Jr., Jr. does pull away with a slight points advantage by 12 points. He increased that lead today. So just 3 races to go to see if Jr. can win it. And Terry Labonte gained 1 spot in points, moving past Newman. Those two basically just traded 1 spot. Terry now 348 points back with 3 races to go. Again, mathematically not out of it, but it is going to take a Hail Mary attempt for Terry Labonte to win this title. We need to gain 116 points on average, and again, you can gain up to 151 on a lone driver per race. So we could be eliminated from contention after tomorrow night's race. Again, I just want a shot going into Homestead. All it takes is 1 DNF out of Dale. Well, it'll probably take 2 to win the championship, but 1 to at least have a shot going into Homestead. Because if he blows an engine and Gordon runs, subpar, Jarrett, Martin, then you're talking about Labonte, being within 1 race at least, or close to it going into Rockingham, and then, just finishes a couple positions ahead of Junior, leads the most laps there as well as Phoenix, and if we win out, we can probably get top 5 in points and finish within 1 race worth. Like, Bobby Labonte is reachable. We're about 1 race worth of points behind Bobby Labonte. So that is definitely reachable if we have a good final 3 races, which currently we're tied for where we were running when we were eliminated from contention last season with Greg Biffle. But we'll run to the end of the season even if we are eliminated from contention, which it just kind of sucks. I'm kind of glad I took time off of this game for a week to do NASCAR 05 because all the bad luck we were having, and, my head was like, man, we're not going to win the championship. It's going to be it's going to be tough because we didn't win it season 1, and we're probably not going to win it season 2. So that's going to be the only 2 seasons we do have Thunder 04, and we're not going to win a single title because we only got the Cup Series to use here in this game. But we'll go for broke, obviously, to finish the season, and we'll still bring you the realistic broadcast along the way. So again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. We'll be at Phoenix right here on NASCAR Thunder 2004. Thanks for everybody tuning in here tonight. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our Speed Weeks on the channel this week. Go back and watch some of the races. I think the best race we ended up having was our dual race yesterday morning, believe it or not. Last lap pass for the win there. Not going to spoil the finish if you want to go back and watch it. It's only 50 laps. It won't waste much of your time. And it was a pretty crazy race all throughout, to say the least. Probably the craziest race on Speed Weeks. I'd say that in Milwaukee with the modified series was absolutely insane all the way throughout as well. Those are the 2 races, I think, from Speed Weeks that really shined. And you'll probably see one of those 2 races on the Race of the Week that will be uploaded soon. I uploaded the Race of the Week from the week prior yesterday because of all the Speed Week stuff we were doing, both, with the predictions, the post-race analysis videos, the, all through Speed Weeks, and then the streams on top of it too, and the doubleheader yesterday because of the dual and the 500, and then the actual Daytona 500. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of time to upload that at all last week, so I made sure I did that today. Go check that out. That's from the week before, and then last week's will be up probably, hopefully by the end of the night, if not tomorrow morning by the time it actually uploads. So thanks everybody for watching. Again, like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night, and stay safe if you're getting a lot of snow like I am here in Northwest Ohio. Stay safe. Catch you next time.